Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
I just wanted to say thank you for being here.
Thousands of pro-life activists will be descending upon Washington, D.C. today for the 2024 March for Life. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. The annual event has been held since 1974 in response to the United States Supreme Court issuing its controversial 1973 ruling, Roe v. Wade, that declared abortion to be a constitutional right. It'll be the event's second go-round since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. As more snow is about to hit Ohio, the Ohio Department of Transportation is urging drivers to use extra caution while driving, as 8 snowplows have been hit in the last week. ODOT says if the drivers see plows with their flashing lights on, they are working, and they ask that you give them some extra space. And Attorney General Dave Yost is asking a federal court to finalize Ohio's latest opioid settlement payouts. The state is getting nearly $680 million in total payouts coming from CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, and drug makers Teva and Allergan over the next decade plus. I'll be right back with sports and weather.
It's not insurance, and that's a new way of thinking for some families. Christian Healthcare Ministries is a credible way to meet family healthcare costs affordably, biblically, and effectively, whether starting or growing your family. Serving families as a nonprofit healthcare sharing ministry for over 40 years, CHM has offered families the freedom to choose how they would like to meet healthcare costs. Be pleasantly surprised and find answers to your questions at chministries.org/Moody. That's chministries.org/Moody.
In sports, ESPN reports Bill O'Brien will join the Buckeyes as their new offensive coordinator. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. A reminder that a winter storm warning remains in effect until 4 a.m. Saturday. For today, snow this morning, then snow showers this afternoon, accumulation of 3 to 5 inches, and our high temperatures in the mid-20s. At last check, we had light snow all across the listening area. 24 degrees in Cleveland, 21 in Akron and Canton, 22 in Youngstown.
It's time for your moron moment.
In light of the winter storm warning, let me offer some advice to help you be better prepared. In your car, be sure to have filled up your gas tank, have some water and snacks, have a blanket or two, have a snow brush for your windows. At home, be sure you have gas for your snowblower. Clear a what you call a potty area for your shorter dogs. Have plenty of firewood near the house if you burn it. And check in with your neighbors, especially those elderly and disabled.
And that's your Moron Moment.
And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:03 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Friday. We made it through Snowmageddon 2024, guys. We made it.
So far.
Well, yeah, because it goes till Saturday. But we were all, the weather people, God bless them all, were like, we're all going to die. It's over.
Always are.
We all planned, and then it was like, oh, a little snowy poo outside. Be careful. The roads are slick and stuff, but it's not, we don't have 8 inches yet in most areas. I drove through most areas today on my way in, and we do not have.
And I drove through the
yet.
other most areas?
Yeah, you did. And it's still like just a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Well, this is supposed to continue through like Saturday morning, so we could still very well get dumped on.
It's true. It's true, but not yet. Not yet. I want to tip my cap as we start Follow Up Friday to 3 things today. Are we ready?
Yeah.
First of all, ODOT snowplows. Thanks, guys. I tip my cap. You actually found one that's like live streaming his plowing, right?
I don't think it was like one of the big ones. I think it was like a personal like pickup truck plow, but yeah. A guy in Lorain County was on TikTok live streaming him plowing the street. streets.
I love that. Why not? But really, without those guys, I don't know what we'd do. And gals.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I also tip my cap to the Streetsboro BMV, Bureau of Motor Vehicles. I had an experience unlike any other at the BMV yesterday in a positive sense. Don't worry.
Okay.
I went in because I needed to get some license plates. I go in and they have like a digital sign-in. I was like, aren't we fancy here in Streetsboro?
Nice.
The BMV's got digital stuff. So I put in, I want this, I want that. Here's my name. Bup. I didn't even sit down yet, and they called my number.
Wow.
Wow.
Can you believe it? When does that
It is
happen?
fast.
Usually you got to bring a book and a pillow, and you just buckle up for the rest of your life in there. No, I got through. And finally, I'd like to tip my cap to the skunk nearby the radio
Oh
station.
my gosh.
We didn't
bad.
know you were there. Now we do.
Now.
We do now.
Yeah. And
I
Let
went
us
by
know.
2. Like there was one that someone must have hit on the highway, and
Oh,
I was like
poor baby.
still clearing it out of my nose, and then I pulled into our
Oh,
parking lot. I'm
yeah.
like, there's another one.
yeah, and this one I think just was like, hey guys, I'm here. I'm just going to leave you a little gift, and I'm just going to go back in the woods.
Yeah, I didn't see anything. It's just
Yeah, I never saw him either. But,
smelled it.
And I started smelling it yesterday.
You did?
Yes.
oh, wow.
So it must have been nearby, like, oh, this is Moody Radio. Is that the sound it makes?
He's probably scared of all the deer around here.
I don't think deer care about skunks, though, do they?
Yeah, but if the skunk cares about the deer, that's where he's going to
That's
stay.
perhaps
We have a very nervous skunk around here.
Yeah.
Pepe Le Pew.
Oui, mon ami. So there you go. That's fun.
Can you still smell it in the studios
Yes.
here?
Not in the studios, but once I got to my office, I was like, still? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it could be one of you guys.
No.
Well, I've been here the longest, so
That's true.
It's Ron.
yeah.
Are you trying to make fun of me because I told you I'm having a deodorant problem?
I didn't want to bring it up.
You just did.
No, you did.
No, you said it could be one of us and then looked at me.
No, but they don't know I looked at you in the live stream. And it's a
What?
box. We're a box next to some.
I'm
Go
having a
ahead.
deodorant problem, people.
Let's see if we can solve it. Go ahead.
I've tried probably 4 different types of aluminum-free deodorant.
That's your
Okay.
first problem. You need extra aluminum.
No,
Oh, sorry.
just
Go
listen.
ahead. Go ahead.
And they make my armpits itch. And I get a little
Oh.
rash.
Mm.
I've
Okay.
had the same problem.
Yes, and my sister has a problem too.
That's why I don't do aluminum free anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I like the idea, but my skin is just too sensitive. I don't know what they put in there.
What's the
It's-
opposite? Yeah.
Like I'm like, what is worse for my skin that's in here than aluminum?
Exactly.
That's all I want to know.
So then I said, forget it. Put the toxins in my body. I don't care.
Oh, well,
Crunchy adjacent.
You are crunchy
And-
adjacent. Yes.
So I was like, just get a regular one. So Eddie was going to the store. I said, just get a whatever, regular, whatever. I stink. It's not
Oh,
working.
no.
The aluminum free ones worked. I didn't stink, but they made me itchy. The regular one, I'm stinking.
So you're left with an impossible choice now.
yeah.
Itch
Am I
or
itch
stink?
or stink? I'm going to have to go itch, I think.
I
can't
suggested
stink.
just let the armpits be natural, and perhaps that will do something.
Au natural.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Maybe it's the French thing to do since we were talking about French. I don't know. You don't want to do that, though, do you?
No.
Yeah, it's a difficult dilemma. Perhaps all of that crunchy time you've spent
Trying to be
removing
aluminum
things,
free.
it's permanently damaged your body. You got to be like Ron and me and get extra toxins. They
Right.
protect you from everything, really.
Yeah. Your meals should be 50% MSG.
Yes, extra. Yeah, lots of salt. You know, we like extra aluminum.
Yeah. And if you can find a bottle of red dye number 5,
Dump
pour
it in.
that all over your dessert.
Oh yeah, I add it to everything. Really,
Mm-hmm.
I get frustrated when it's gone. That was made up. That's not true.
No.
I think people believed it.
No.
And Lauren, I won't think any less of you if I notice an odor when you walk by.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I might avoid you, but I won't. I'll
Just know that I know.
Okay,
I'm not
I don't
unaware.
have to bring it up
She's
Yeah.
trying.
because that's. I mean, it's one thing to say to your friend, "Oh, you got something on your face." I mean,
Right.
it's another to
Right.
go,
Hey, you stink.
"Say, hey, Slider, you stink." That's from Top Gun.
Oh,
You don't know,
I didn't.
but it's you have to really be friends to tell someone they smell.
Yeah. So just know that I know I stink and I'm trying to figure it out, okay? Just might
Okay.
take a couple of rounds.
And
New
pray for
deodorant.
me. I'm in the same room as her. So hashtag pray for Brian. 440-546-2255. It's follow-up Friday today. And we'd love to have you pick the topic. Maybe there's something from this week you want to cover, something new. Text it in if you want. Call it in. Do whatever you need to do. Send in Lauren advice on how to not itch or stink,
Yes.
perhaps. We'll go through the week's topics here as well. First of all, we talked about funny traffic signs that are distracting, but I mean, they're not really, in my opinion.
just funny.
They bring joy to my life.
Right.
But the federal
the
government, the federal government's here to ruin all our fun. And they told all the states, can't do that anymore, guys. No more fun. Just say, buckle up.
Stay safe.
Boring.
Lights on.
And then later on today, I'll delay as long as possible. Someone insisted I apologize to Daria, and I guess they're right. They're right about something.
I'm waiting.
Well, we got a couple hours here, sister, so...
Here, maybe I can help.
I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Bam! Bam! You got that in there now?
Yeah, that's a
Thank
new
you,
one.
Ron.
If you want proof I didn't actually say that today, you can go to the live stream. My mouth did not move, and nor am I a ventriloquist. I'm not. Although I tried to be when I was a kid. I had a ventriloquist dummy.
Really?
Yes.
What was his name?
I don't remember. I should remember this. I don't remember that, but it was a cheap one where it was just a string behind his neck. So you couldn't like pull a trigger or something, and it was hard. But, you could talk without moving your lips. See? If you're on the live stream, I'm a ventriloquist. You don't even know who's talking. You don't know.
It's not me.
That was pretty good, Lauren.
Yeah, it was good. There was a little quiver, but that's okay.
So I can tell by the look on your face and the sound of your voice, you're going to say, yeah, that was good. You were just patronizing me. You did not think that was good.
It was fine.
See, that's
I'm not
more accurate.
impressed, but it was fine.
Nothing much impresses you, though. Let's be
That's
honest.
true.
Unremarkable.
I can always rely on Ron, to be honest. So unremarkable. Then there is sleep unders. There's a whole bunch of people these days who will not do sleepovers anymore because now it's more dangerous than the olden days in their minds. I'm not sure that's actually true, but people are worried, and a lot of you had comments on it. And sleep under, by the way, is like people who go, sure, my kid can come over to your house and stay there very late, but they're not going to sleep there.
Right.
Because if I pick them up at 2 a.m., that will protect them from all the bad things, which happen at 2:01 a.m. Oh,
until noon when they usually wake up.
Yeah, the only bad thing about sleepovers in my family is that I get a crabby kid back for at least 24 hours. That's annoying. We have to have a talk. Just because you didn't sleep doesn't mean you can terrorize the whole family. Okay? Thank you. Then we talked about the Stanley Cup obsession. Ron thought it was hockey.
Yes.
It's not hockey. It's the latest trend for kids is not Beanie Babies or hula hoops. It's literally the kind of mug that guys that do construction use.
Well, the same brand. I would be shocked to see a guy jump off his bulldozer with one of those in his hand.
Pink ones.
The
Yeah,
pink ones from
especially
Starbucks.
pink.
I don't know, though. If you're out there today working hard and you need a break, get back in your dozer and text us. And text us a picture of your pink Stanley Cup. I'd love to see that. Or be one of the guys. I love this about Northeast Ohio. We only have 2 lanes in most of this state. And so if anyone's doing work on the road at all, you have to have somebody with the stop sign that flips it back and forth. You need to hold your pink Stanley Cup just to impress all the kids driving by.
They'll need a friend to take the picture because they've got one hand on the sign and one hand holding the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, well, sometimes there's a crowd at a construction site, and I'll just leave it there. I don't want to imply you're not working.
No, because it takes a lot of people to do whatever they're doing, laying pipe or running internet cables.
You were about to say something,
I
Daria?
was going to say, when it's this cold, they deserve a hot cup of coffee.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
In a Stanley Cup. Just take it from a little girl. They cry anyway if they don't have one. What else did we talk about? How the evangelical church became so political, according to a pastor's son. Lots of you wanted to comment on that. Because some of you, honestly, you like to be political, and that's fine. I love talk radio. I did love political talk radio until it became poison in my life. But you know, Jesus needs to be so big in your life that politics become kind of like, it's interesting. Anyway, what's for dinner? But not everybody feels that way. So maybe you want to call and tell Lauren that she shouldn't feel that way. Because I was just basically being a ventriloquist for Lauren right there.
I don't answer the phones, so. Sorry, Daria. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. That's exactly right, Ron. Leave me alone.
I didn't realize for a minute that he had put that on the thing. You were being a ventriloquist there. Okay. Also, how do you stop your adult children from walking all over you? All over you?
Yeah.
It happens, and there was some good advice on that. I don't know what this one. Pastor becomes urban. Oh, right.
Really?
Yeah, there's a pastor who was like, I'm done with this pastoring thing. I'm going to start a little urban farm. And then people actually came to church that were not Christians. to his outside church. It was fun. Cash for school. Should we pay underprivileged areas and places with low attendance, graduation rates? Should we pay kids to go to school with incentives? Some of you think it's crazy. Others think it's a good idea. Then there was a Dear Abby about a grandma who doesn't feel welcome during visits because her daughter-in-law doesn't offer her food or anything or drink or to stay. What should she do with that? We gave advice. 440-546-2255. What do you want to talk about? 440-546-2255.
Walk worthy. The Apostle Paul encouraged us in Ephesians 4 to live lives worthy of the callings we receive from God. And we at Moody Radio Cleveland want to encourage you to attend Walk Worthy 2024. Don't miss speakers Mark Jobe and Nick Gatsky on Saturday, March 2nd at Canton Baptist Temple. To register now, text WALK to 440-546-2255. That's 440-546-2255. Send the word WALK.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from listeners and businesses like Deerfield Ag Services. They help in adaptation of new technologies and techniques of farm and business management. More information about Deerfield Ag and how they can help is at deerfieldagservices.com.
Let's take a moment today to thank God for His Word. Here's John MacArthur.
Father, we thank you for the consistency of Scripture and its power. Thank you that it lives and breathes. It does a mighty work in our souls of encouragement, pouring the truth in. For those who don't know it, that they might know it. For those who know it, that they might even love it more and proclaim it more faithfully. Amen.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
622 WCRF, Mornings with Brian. Walkworthy Men's Conference coming up Saturday, March 2nd at Canton Baptist Temple. Text WALK to 440-546-2255. If you missed it yesterday, we made two major announcements. Not only do we have Dr. Mark Jobe speaking, who will be with us later this morning, live, for me to give him a hard time. Maybe you should do that setup, Ron, where I talk about holding his hand on a rooftop somewhere. That makes him super uncomfortable.
I'll have to see if I can find that one again.
Lauren's nervous.
I think I need some context here.
Well, we'll just leave it there.
Why are you holding his hand?
Well, I didn't actually. I offered to. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
Well, you'll hear it later, I hope. And then we also have Dr. Nick Gatsky. But we announced James Ford from Treasured Truth is going to be our third speaker. Chris Brooks can't make it. It's a long story. Don't worry about it. He's fine.
He's healthy and fine.
Yeah. But Treasured Truth is a popular program here at WCRF, so James Ford's amazing. Even if his message were terrible, it would sound great. That guy's got an awesome voice.
Power up.
And then also, our extra feature this year will be, we're going to do a live taping of Mornings with Brian. The whole team will get up there. We'll pretend like it's live, and you'll cheer a lot.
Clap for us.
In fact, we'll have someone telling you when to do so.
I love that.
That would be me.
We should have one where you extend it so I can go, please stop. No, it's enough. It's enough. You could stop it. Please.
You'll do that even if they clap for 1 second.
It's true. It's true. So get your tickets today. Text WALK to 440-546-2255. WALK to 440-546-2255. You could also text to that number a topic or call for whatever you want to talk about this follow-up Friday. I was going to say something. Goodness sakes. Here I am on live radio. I don't even know what it is. I'm getting old, Ron. This is getting difficult. I know what it was. It's back now. Senior moment. Sorry.
Not that old.
Yeah, I got it back very quickly. So I'll be gone next week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going on vacation. A partner ministry of Moody Radio, which you'll learn more about in the future, is sending a group of morning show hosts from around the country to a place I can't disclose because it would compromise our trip in some sense. And I can't explain more than that. But it's a very long journey there and back. I'll be hanging out with a host, my friend Dawn from Nashville, Shauna from West Michigan, and Tabi from Chattanooga.
Wow.
Yeah.
You and the ladies.
Yeah, well, no surprise.
On special assignment.
And we're going to be, like most of the week next week, if you go, I should pray for Brian because he's on an airplane now. That's next week. If you say that, it's probably true. I don't want to complain, but.
It's a quick trip.
Yeah, we're in airplanes longer than we're on the ground there, but it's for a lot of different reasons. We want to be economical and all that. It'll be a difficult journey, and the work we're going to observe there is going to be a little emotional and difficult. So if you think of pray for me, the show will go on. I mean, goodness. I'm getting verklempt here. You've got Lauren over there. She'll be here.
I'll be here.
Whether or not she's itchy or stinky, she'll be here.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Right, one way or another.
Daria will be here. Ron will be here. It'll be a big party. You won't want to miss it.
We're still having guests.
And you might even play a recording of me talking to somebody, right? Just for those who miss me so much, they're crying. They need a reprieve.
We have some pre-recorded interviews you've done with guests.
So listen in for that. All right, 440-546-2255. 440-546-2255. Oh, we've got advice for you.
Yes.
Which I know you're dying to hear on the radio, advice for your armpit problem.
My armpits, yeah. Jen said either use baby powder or key lime deodorant. And I think a second text is coming in, but we haven't gotten it yet.
Key lime?
Yeah.
Key
lime deodorant.
Is that a scent or a brand?
I don't know.
I've never
look it up.
Ever seen like citrus scented deodorant.
I like key lime pie.
Me too.
Regular. Yeah, you could just rub that in your pits. But I wonder what it is about the key lime versus the regular lime. Regular limes, no good in the pits. Key limes,
who knows?
Perfectly fine.
Well,
are you finding it?
Well, there's like key lime scented.
Huh. Well.
Oh, here's one. All natural. Key lime.
You know, Daria,
aluminum-free, fragrance-free, paraben-free. Ooh.
Yep. See, if it's free of everything, how's it going to help anyone? This is a bottle of nothing.
But is this, since it's aluminum free, is it gonna, oh, it's a spray. Oh.
Please
Then I have to
don't
go
do that.
keep my arms up like this for a little while it dries.
Don't do that. Gross. Daria made key lime pie once from scratch. Maybe you got some key limes laying around.
Daria, I'm here now. I need pie.
She did. She made it from scratch.
I remember.
Great.
I was like kind of teasing her, like, "Oh, I bet you didn't squeeze the limes." You're like, "Yeah, I did."
She's like, yeah, I did.
You did, didn't you?
I don't mess around with baking.
So what's been happening the last month or two? You've been messing around?
I have other stuff going on.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
started our live stream, okay? All right.
Doesn't mean she can't
Also-
bake in the afternoon.
I've gotten two suggestions for Loom deodorant, so I'll try that.
Boy, leave it to our listening family to rescue Lauren with her
And
armpit
if I have
problem.
itchy pits, it's all of your faults.
She'll try all these and report back next week, I'm sure. It'll be the top story all week.
Product reviews with Lauren.
Now, I do need to, maybe I should just get my apology out of the way.
Yeah, just do it.
I'm waiting.
Please.
I have written down for me here, Brian needs to apologize to Daria. Now, did you write that or did we have
Yeah,
a
I
listening
did.
friend?
No, I wrote that.
Okay.
Someone corrected you, and then I said, you need to apologize to Daria.
So we were talking about how the federal government's cracking down on states who have fun with their digital signs on the road where it'll be like, I don't have the thing in front of me. Do you remember any of them from the... I had them.
Only Rudolph should drive lit. That's my favorite.
Yeah, there you go.
That was good.
And we all laugh, yeah.
And there was one I've seen around lately that instead of blizzard warning, they forgot the B, and it was just lizard warning until Saturday at 4 a.m.
Yes.
Like, watch out for Godzilla.
And see, we're enjoying it. Federal government says no. All you can do is be all kinds of serious. There's snow coming. Be careful. Buckle your safety belts.
Are you just trying to run the clock right now so you don't have to apologize?
Oh, we're almost out of time. Should we take a break?
Well, that
Oh,
would
no,
give
we-
you a whole segment in order to embellish on your apology.
Okay, so one of them said something about Aunt Clara, and I thought that was the aunt from Christmas Vacation.
The one that brings the cat.
Yeah, and she can't hear anything. She wraps up the cat.
Mm-hmm.
She eats cat food or something. It's a whole funny thing. And I thought that's what that referred to. Our friend Daria was like, isn't that the aunt from Christmas Story?
That brings the pink bunny suit.
Yeah, and I was like, absolutely not, Daria. You sit down. I wasn't that mean, but I did
essentially.
insist you were wrong, didn't I?
It was more of a passing comment.
Bam! I didn't do that. That was wrong. Well, it turns out Daria was right.
What was that again?
You were right. Mm-hmm.
I think the phrase is, you were right, I was wrong. I apologize.
I apologize. You were. It seems as if you were not wrong on that.
Oh,
That might be the best I'm going to get. I'll take
No,
it.
you were right, Daria. You're always right, Daria. I'm gonna say it real slow for Ron. Daria, you're always right.
time marker.
I'm usually wrong. You can't use that one. I'm usually wrong, Daria.
You are forgiven.
Just like Jesus forgives everyone, you do too?
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
I tried. That was kind of a joke.
All right, so I'm forgiven. So are you, everyone. Don't forget, that's what Jesus did. Really awkward spiritual turn there. 6:31, time for a quick break. We're going to come back with more Follow-Up Friday. Remember, you pick the topics, or we'll go back and review some of the comments you gave us as well throughout the week. 440-546-2255.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.637 Mornings with Brian, WCRF. Make sure that you check out the live stream. If you missed parts of the show, you can pick it all up on YouTube. We're Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland. You could also just text the word live to 440-546-2255, and you can watch along. Well,
Please don't scratch your beard into the mic like that.
Did you hear that?
So gross.
All of Northeast Ohio heard that.
Well, I had an itch. What do you want me to do? I didn't know it was going to be that loud.
You like turn your chin like to the mic and you're like going like that.
Well, I was talking at the same time, Daria.
Yeah, so turn your chin down.
It's not gross to scratch beards.
When it's into a mic, it is.
It's a very unnerving sound.
Is it? What about if I... Do you like that sound?
That's worse.
It's worse? Okay. It's Follow-Up Friday, 440-546-2255. You take over the show. What do you want to talk about? Call or text with those issues or discussions that you want to revisit, something we didn't talk about. Whatever it is, you're welcome to join us. 440-546-2255. Now, there's one comment that for the life of us, we can't remember the context of why this came in.
I don't know.
But someone was not necessarily super happy with me, and I wanted to address it. So in the context of some sort of conversation we had this week that we can't remember, I talked about the struggle of having little babies and going to church. We were talking, oh, you know what we were talking about?
What were we talking about?
We were talking about reasons young people are leaving the church. And we were talking about how multi-generational church is a great idea and concept, but there are limitations. Like, I think that was it.
I don't remember that at all.
We had 8 reasons why people are walking away from their faith.
Oh,
remember?
thanks.
From Chuck Lawless, right?
Yes,
Chuck
that's
Lawless.
right.
Exactly. And this person, I mentioned how there was a series of years where Sarah and I would just take turns sitting out in the narthex or the fellowship hall or whatever it is, or outside if it was summertime, with a kid who just couldn't function in the church service. And I said, sometimes I felt like, what's even the point? Why are we even going here? And this person said, I took all 3 of my babies to church every Sunday. And some of them were just a few weeks old. I don't know what you're talking about. You should go to church with your kids, essentially was their point. Well, okay.
Like, what do you mean you can't go to church with babies?
What I meant was that, I mean, I have encountered babies that, you know, are just like little cherubs. They don't have wings. Maybe they're hiding in their onesie, but they just don't really cry, and they Google and they sleep during church. They
Google?
You know, I meant like, but Google is actually a thing now. It's, it's also a website.
Google the verb.
Yes, exactly. And when they become toddlers, some kids I've met, I know people, and their personalities themselves, the parents are very like diminutive. They're very like quiet, soft, gentle people. And their children just sit in chairs quietly.
Yeah.
They'll be like, okay, Billy, you sit in the chair and mommy's going to be right here, okay? And okay, Mom. And they just don't move. That happens.
Yeah, it does.
By the way, it's not a result of good parenting at all. There's something genetic about that. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
My kids are not like
disposition,
that.
Yeah.
Is Trey like that?
No.
You didn't do anything wrong.
No.
I mean, we had when I moved to Chicago from Minneapolis in 2008, we had a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn. You think one of us, or we were just in church with all our kids? You think we were? No, we couldn't. It was, I mean, we would have disrupted the entire service. In fact, I think it's rude if you have a fussy kid that gets beyond what's acceptable. You just stay in there.
Yeah, and then other people can't hear, and
the pastor can't focus.
Yeah.
That's why Dana and I work in the nursery. We have a room, we have toys and books and stuff. We're 0 to 2, so if your kid gets fussy, bring them to us.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you because Sarah works in the nursery, but we had 1 or 2 kids that were very sketchy about the nursery. And we're not like, it's not like we don't let people hold our kids, or we try to, encourage independence. Anxiety. But they have normal. Intense separation anxiety.
It's normal.
And so it was like, we didn't want to ruin the entire nursery experience either. And so I'm just saying, sometimes it's what we had to do. I don't know how else to explain that. I think it would have been bad and inappropriate for me to stay in the service.
Yeah, you didn't mean you didn't go to church at all. You're just saying there was the majority of the time when your kids were small, you were out in the lobby and stuff.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't sit in the church.
And it felt pointless.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, I don't know, I could just stay home. And I know people that have kids with special needs that aren't able to be in church service, that they literally take turns going to church and one of them stays home. What, do we blame them for that? No. I think it actually is a good strategy if that's what you have to do.
That's basically what you and Sarah were doing.
Essentially.
On and off. One's out in the narthex and one's in the service.
But I did feel the pressure from church culture that I had to be there even if I wasn't actually in the service. Like, Brian better go to church. And in some sense, I don't know, would it be bad if parents of a fussy kid took turns going to church so that somebody could actually worship?
I mean, we've had these discussions before. There are times where it's appropriate to miss church, like especially if your body is going to be there, but your mind is elsewhere because, say, you're dealing with three toddlers or something like that, which is why online church is fantastic. Like, yes, under normal circumstances, you should be in church and you should be doing your best to pay attention, but sometimes you just can't be there. Sometimes life happens.
Yeah, and I somewhat wish in hindsight, because we didn't have the option of online church back then, I wish in hindsight I would have felt the freedom to just stay home with the kid. And then next week I'll go worship. And guess what? Jesus would not be mad at me. He'd understand. All right. That's that. 440-546-2255. What do you want to talk about? It's Follow-Up Friday. 440-546-2255.
Walk worthy. The Apostle Paul encouraged us in Ephesians 4 to live lives worthy of the callings we receive from God. And we at Moody Radio Cleveland want to encourage you to attend Walk Worthy 2024. Don't miss speakers Mark Jobe and Nick Gatsky on Saturday, March 2nd at Canton Baptist Temple. To register now, text WALK to 440-546-2255. That's 440-546-2255. Send the word WALK. Attention all high school students and parents. We invite you to visit Moody's campus in the heart of downtown Chicago, in person or virtually. Experience life as a Moody student by scheduling an individual visit to campus with your family. We are excited to welcome you to learn more about whether Moody is right for you and your student. Meet with an admissions counselor and sit in on class in person or through Zoom. Schedule your campus visit today at moody.edu/experience Moody.
The news changes. God's Word doesn't. And that's what we're about at Moody Radio. If you feel anxious because of the constant stream of negatives, go to moodyradio.org/resources. There you'll find blogs by Dr. Michael Rydelnik of Open Line, Bible verses that will help you overcome fear, audio, video, and more. Go to moodyradio.org/resources right now and find encouragement and comfort. moodyradio.org/resources.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Toby Mack on WCRF, Mornings with Brian, 649. It's a follow-up Friday, 440-546-2255. Call or text, and you can join the conversation or suggest a topic.
Yeah.
I do want to add, by the way, if you're following the live stream, we do have a prize this week for someone who can find we said floating object, and someone got mad because it's not actually floating. It's not a drone.
It's not floating. It's
moving.
It's moving.
Well, but it's not actively moving.
I move it. I move
not
my
off on the
legs and move it around. Yes.
And if you can recognize the object, you get a prize. And just figure out what it is.
The first person who comments on the live stream what that is, you will get a docking station, a Moody Radio branded docking station. What does that mean? I don't know, Brian. You have one. What's in it? Let's do an unboxing, shall we?
It's got the magnetic charger for an iPhone. It can charge iBuds or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And a
iBuds.
watch.
iBuds.
Yeah,
I'm going to call them that from now on. I love it.
Something for my eyes. What would that be?
You put
Sunglasses.
it right on your pupil. It's right there. And it helps you see. Just
iBuds.
kidding. No, right. It's for your ear pods, I believe. Is what
AirPods. AirPods.
Ron and the
Well,
iPhone,
they're ear pods if
AirPods,
they're wired.
an Apple Watch.
We're struggling.
Charge them
Big
all.
time.
Anyways, it's a docking station 103.3. Okay? So the first person to comment what the moving object is this week on a live stream gets that. We'll send it to you.
There it is. Go
Okay.
check it out. Text live to 440-546-2255. All right. So last week in our follow-up and last week, we talked about a story involving one Kim Davis. If you're not familiar or don't remember, she's the Kentucky County Clerk, where she refused to sign gay marriage licenses in that county after the Obergefell decision from the Supreme Court that legalized same-sex marriage. She ended up spending some time in jail, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, 2 weeks ago, she ended up losing in court a lawsuit, and now she has to pay about $250,000. And so we were just kind of evaluating, after really a second loss for her, was that, persecution, or was that maybe she could have handled it differently? God bless her, And as we had that discussion, lots of opinions, but there's one we didn't get to, I think, that's worth talking about. And someone said, hey, you guys are talking about Kim Davis. She's not with you. So can Christian talk shows be gossiping, talking about this? I like the question.
Yeah.
I like when somebody pushes a little bit. That's how we get better, and that's how we have interesting discussions. So, team, anybody who wants to jump in, were we gossiping by talking about Kim Davis losing her lawsuit? Who wants to go first?
Boy, that's something I've got to think about. Because my knee-jerk reaction is, no, of course not. Everybody talks about topics in the news. But then I think, okay, just because everybody does it, does that make it right? So I have to fight that knee-jerk reaction and try to do a little more depth.
Well, let me share this with you and see if it helps, okay? I've got from Desiring God Ministries, that's John Piper's ministry. They had an article on gossip and what it is. In the heading of the article called, What is Gossip? I wonder why I went to that. It says, the scriptures do not provide a definition of gossip in one location. Instead, they describe gossip in action and intimately tie it to the character of the people participating in this tantalizing sin. The Bible often uses the word gossip to describe a kind of person more than just a pattern of communication. My way of summarizing the Bible's teaching on this topic is to say that the sin of gossip is bearing bad news behind someone's back out of a bad heart. This functional definition considers the action itself, the content of the corrupt communication, the situation in which it occurs, and perhaps most importantly, the motivations of the people involved.
Yeah, I think several months back, I don't remember if it was Pastor Tanks or Pastor Lessing we talked about it with. We talked about gossip.
It might have been Dr. Gatsky, actually.
Really?
Anyway, somebody has
It was
authority.
a pastor friend. And we talked about what if I go to my pastor and I'm having a problem with one of my friends and I tell them everything that happened? Is that gossip? And I think what we landed on in that conversation was kind of like this article is saying is it's the heart behind it. Why are you doing that? Why are you talking? Are you doing it to be mean and unkind? Are you doing it to bring that other person down or to share bits about this person that you think are juicy and you think other people should know? because you think it's bad, because you're shaming them, you're condemning them in some way. Not just talking about people.
Right. Well, right. Because, I mean, if it were simply the definition of gossip being talking about someone who's not there, you could never talk to Eddie about an interpersonal problem you're having in your life, your husband Eddie, for those who don't know, and if they're not there. So you'd have to invite someone over so you get advice from Eddie.
I couldn't talk to Eddie about this show. I couldn't talk to Eddie about you guys, what we talk about on a daily basis, my job that involves you guys. If it was just, I can't talk about people when they're not present.
So it can't be that.
I don't think so.
Now, yeah, Kim Davis wasn't here. That's true. Now, let's add a layer to this. She had this situation come up in her life, and she had a number of choices. One of them could have been to quietly resign, turn in a letter, resign. None of us would ever have heard about it. And if we did, I don't know what. But I doubt it would have happened. Now, in this case, I remember vividly a pre-planned press conference that had crowds of people, Governor Mike Huckabee, speeches, it was a public spectacle that she participated in, which I think kind of invites us to talk about it. When you make yourself a public spectacle and you say, this is what I'm going to do, and I want you to know about it, I think it's certainly fair game for us to talk about, especially if our motive is, let's evaluate this as followers of Jesus. Here's another Christian who's making a decision. We want to grow closer to Jesus and represent him well. How did she do? What can we learn from this?
Right.
The motive was not, let's see if we can destroy Kim Davis. No, are you kidding me? No.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you put yourself out in public, and we weren't trying to destroy your character or anything. Like you said, we were trying to examine it biblically. But I do think once you intentionally step into the public eye like that, it's no longer a secret. And gossip generally implies that something's a secret that someone wouldn't want to get out. But she went public with this.
But I think it's a real thing. I think we all struggle with it because there isn't a succinct definition in the scriptures. Like I remember I was having an interpersonal issue at work. I'm going to leave it at that. And I went to a pastor, and I was really grappling with what gossip is. And we had lunch together, and I said, all right, I need your advice on something, but I don't want to gossip. So if I'm gossiping about this person I work with, I want you to stop me.
Sure.
And the person never did. But we talked for at least an hour about this interpersonal issue at work. My guess is the pastor didn't stop me because my heart was, I need help solving this problem, not, can you believe what an idiot this person is, and I hope they get fired.
Right.
You know, I mean, are you kidding me? No.
Yeah, just talking to demean them and condemn them.
Yeah, or even like the sneaky one, like, yes, prayer circle, I've got a prayer request. It's about Lauren. Don't share it with anybody. But and then I'd say something, salacious or...
Yeah.
And I would never do that to you, Lauren.
Yes, I know.
Because I'm not in any prayer circles. That's.
But if you were... Oh.
No, you don't pray, Brian? I'm waiting for that text. Yes, I pray. I'm some people are prayer warriors and they're on a prayer team and such, and they do. I'm not on the list. It's just not my spiritual gift. Okay. Any other final comments on this? Ron, are you satisfied that you're not going to need to repent on this one?
Yes, I think I am.
And here's the other spicy part we forgot to mention. People often use the accusation of gossip as a weapon. I'm going to say this gently. I'm guessing the person who asked that question didn't like what we had to say about it.
Yeah.
Like they would have preferred, perhaps, if our position was Kim Davis was right. America's in trouble. And I can't believe she's being persecuted this way. Which we feel bad for her, but that was not our message. And so when someone doesn't like what you say, they'll go, sounds like you're gossiping, huh? Maybe you're gossiping. And I know it sounds harsh, but it can be used in that way. Ron, do you agree with me? Rebuke me, Ron. Yeah. You would. You'd slap me if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'd get right up out of this chair, walk in there.
Oh, ow.
But no, I do agree with you that people will, if they don't like what you're doing, they'll assign a bad motive to it.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's a whole school of thought and philosophy on types of attacks that aren't like actual discussion. And one of them is ad hominem attacks. So if someone doesn't like something, Like, if Lauren says something to me I don't like, rather than address the issue, I'll say, "Oh yeah, you're dumb." I attack her personality, which she's the opposite of that. But I would attack her personally and not actually address the issue at hand.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole bunch. There's straw man arguments, slippery slope, all those kind of things. But I don't have them all memorized. Did you do philosophy at Moody?
I did.
You just don't remember it?
I actually remember quite a lot, surprisingly. I took it in a summer course, so it was the only thing I was taking at that time.
Oh, yeah.
I love philosophy. It's fascinating.
It is. Turtles all the way down.
What?
You've never heard that? You've never heard that one?
No, tell me.
We don't have the time.
Turtles all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was Plato.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it was Socrates.
It was somebody else.
Descartes?
I don't know. We'll have to look it up.
Okay. It's 7 o'clock. It's time for a quick break on Mornings with Brian. It's Follow-Up Friday, 440-546-2255. Maybe you don't like what we just said. You could talk about that, or maybe you agree, or you got a different topic you want to discuss. Call or text right now, 440-546-2255.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Attorney General Merrick Garland says he told families of victims of the Uvalde, Texas school shooting their loved ones deserved better. It's 7:01. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. A Justice Department report says the shooting could have been stopped sooner. In the report, the DOJ said the response to the May 24th, 2022 mass casualty incident at Robb Elementary School was a failure. Former Cleveland mayor and U.S. Representative Dennis Kucinich is running for Congress again. Kucinich, a 77-year-old Democrat, served in the U.S. House from 1997 to 2012. Kucinich has filed to challenge Republican Max Miller of Rocky River for Ohio's 7th congressional district seat. And a venture capital firm called Hatco has revealed plans to acquire Summa Health. Summa and Hatco, short for Health Assurance Transformation Corporation, have signed a non-binding letter of intent outlining the deal. The move would take Summa Health from a nonprofit to a for-profit entity. I'll be right back with sports and weather.
When CareNet conducted a national survey of hundreds of women who'd had an abortion, a stunning statistic emerged. 4 out of 10 were attending church at the time. Abortion isn't just an out there issue, it's inside the church. Making Life Disciples is an exclusive CareNet curriculum that will transform your church's response to abortion and help you become a central point of compassion in your community. Search for Making Life Disciples at care-net.org to learn more. care-net.org.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine Studio.
In sports, ESPN is reporting that Bill O'Brien will be taking over the role of offensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Here is your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. A winter storm warning is in effect until 4 a.m. Saturday. Snow this morning, then we'll see snow showers this afternoon. Accumulation today could be 3 to 5 inches. Our highs in the mid-20s. And at last check, we had light snow. 25 degrees in Cleveland, 21 Akron and Canton, 24 in Lorain, Elyria. And now your More Ron moment. In light of the winter storm warning, let me offer advice to help you be better prepared. In your car, be sure you have a filled up gas tank. Have some water and snacks available. Have a blanket or two. And have a snow brush to clear your windows. At home, be sure to have gas for your snowblower, if you use a snowblower. Clear out a potty area for your shorter dogs so they don't have to trudge through the depth of snow. Have plenty of firewood near the house if you burn it. And check in with your neighbors, especially those who are elderly or disabled. And that's Your More Ron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It is 7:04 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Brian, on a follow-up Friday, WCRF. Get your topics in, maybe your comments, whatever it is, 440-546-2255. What do you want to talk about? It's 7:08. A quick announcement about next week is brace yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I won't be here.
Wah, wah.
Oh, morning, Daria. I didn't know you were that sad about it. You brought music in? You okay?
I don't know if you know that there's glass windows in this building. I saw you run over to Ron, which means you said, I'm going to play a song on my iPad. Please make sure it's on.
And I can hear you because I have a hallway connecting me and Ron.
I mean, it just feels to me like it happened. I don't, maybe I touched a button on my screen.
Yeah, you're right. I am playing the violin right now.
Aren't you guys
very
going to miss
good.
me?
Please.
Yeah, you are good. Would you rather have a different song? Sorry. Okay, how about this? I'll be gone next week. Be sure to pray for the team. Ron's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Be a lot of weeping from the ladies. Right?
Tears of joy.
Oh, man. Okay, cut the music. Yeah, I'm actually being sent by another ministry partner of Moody with some other morning show hosts across the globe. It's a very long journey. We're going to... Hey!
Please.
No, you should start it like this. This is how you should start it. Brian's gone.
No.
Okay. Well, I can't tell you where I'm going because we was recommended to us by the ministry that it could compromise the trip. We had to get a visa, and they don't really want people there doing ministry work. So that's all I can say at this point. Pray for me. I'll be in an airplane most of next week, and I'll be in a destination across the globe for a very, very short time, and then I'll come home. And I'll tell you all about it when I get back. I'll try to take some videos and pictures and stuff, but I don't always think of those things. I'm a little aloof, Lauren.
We know.
But I'll do my best. All right. So one of the follow-up topics I wanted to be sure to hit is one that we got a lot of spicy comments on. And what?
Spicy.
Spicy. It's a gentle way of saying people got mad.
Yeah.
But I like spicy better.
That's fine.
Because I like when people get frustrated and tell us about it because I think it generates good discussions.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, a podcast from Apple News or whatever, they talked to a pastor's son, and he talked about the book he wrote, The Kingdom, the Power, and the Glory, American Evangelicals in an Age of Extremism. And he shared, I won't go all the details now, he shared a story about going to his father's funeral at his home church, and his dad was the pastor there for many years. And he got harassed by people because of some of his political positions. And they questioned his loyalty to the team, the Christian team, and they questioned his salvation, I would think. And it was really disturbing to him.
And it wasn't like he went up there with the purpose of declaring his political views.
No, he said nothing about it.
He was just there to give a eulogy for his deceased father.
And even at the wake, somebody walked up and hassled him. So he did some research, and I want to share just a little bit again of what he said, because it's important before we get into this. He said, there's a two-word phrase that you'll hear when you hang around evangelicals long enough, particularly political evangelicals. And that's a two-word phrase, under siege. It's a belief that the barbarians are at the gates, a belief that the hostile, godless, wicked, secular culture and the hostile, wicked, secular government are coming for Christians, that we're being persecuted, and that persecution will intensify. And that's the mindset of a lot of these folks, he said. And once you're there, you can pretty quickly get to a place where you're willing to compromise some of your core values, your core beliefs, in the interest of keeping those enemies at bay, warding off the threats, and allowing the ends to justify the means. And again, that's an idea of, as long as the goals are noble, you can do whatever you want to accomplish them. And that's not Christian in any way. And he went on to say, when historians look back at this time period and try to understand this great realignment happening in American Christianity, I think they're going to zero in on COVID-19. The reason I say that is because tens of millions of evangelical Christians spent decades marinating in end times prophecy, some of them, and this apocalyptic rhetoric that the government's coming for Christians. And with the arrival of COVID-19 and specifically orders from some governors to close churches for a while out of public safety, they're like, this is it. It's go time. This is it. And people who had been going to churches, he said, for like 40 years left over this.
Because their church was accepting the order to close, and they didn't feel that that was a Christian thing to do, so they left the church.
Right. And so there was a number of comments. Here's one of them I wanted to point to. And thank you to whoever wrote this. We don't have a name. They said, if we can point out the differences between Christians who hold abstinence as a high standard, why can't we also point out Christians who vote based on non-biblical standards? Bottom line is we should be so in line with Jesus that we'd be remiss if we voted in support of things he hates. Just like you discussed 30 minutes ago when dating, Christians who do not have a standard firm in biblical morality as it relates to sex. There's no difference with sin, abortion, gender identity, and so on. So they're like, why can't we divide people politically, this person said, and say if you vote for that person, you're violating biblical standards. That's why you must vote for this person who is the biblical candidate.
If there were such a thing.
And someone just spit out their cereal, Ron, because
they think there is.
Well, but this is there is a lot of this talk in America, and we're coming into an election year.
Mm-hmm. But I would venture to say there is no perfect candidate out there. You will find certain issues one candidate stands strong in the biblical way with, while another candidate fails miserably in the biblical perspective, but that candidate stands really good in another issue where candidate A is failing miserably.
So you must not understand that there's a Christian political party, essentially. There's one that's Christian, one that's not, and a whole bunch of third parties.
I understand that that is a false worldview.
Tell Ron how he's wrong, ladies. Spice it up.
I cannot.
I think you need to understand that, one, we can debate on whether they should do this or not, but people have different ways of interpreting Scripture. And I think some of those people are still saved. You also have to keep in mind that not everyone is super well versed in politics. They're just going to take people at face value. And for certain specific divisive issues, politicians do their best to hide their actual standpoint because they know it's a hot button issue. So you have to extend a little grace to people that may not know exactly what they're voting for.
That's good.
I think some people ultimately try to narrow down, the Christian faith in America when you go vote to like one or two issues.
Right.
Let's just say abortion and marriage. Now, those are biblical issues. Can we reduce decisions in the ballot box to those two positions?
I don't believe so.
They're important.
They are among some very important issues.
Some people vote only on those issues.
And I personally don't think there's anything wrong with that. If that's your conviction.
Nor do I.
If that's what you want to do, then vote that way. Vote your conscience.
But the question becomes, if let's just say that's my position, that I say, really, I vote on two issues or one. You agree with me on this, you get my vote. You don't, you don't. Is it possible someone could have a different list of priorities?
Yeah.
That are biblical, though?
Yep.
What do you mean? Biblical. Those are because life and marriage are biblical issues, Ron.
Yes. Caring for widows and orphans is a biblical issue, but it doesn't fall under, abortion and marriage. Well, the widows you might tie a little bit to marriage, but not the way that the politics is doing that.
Well, and there's other issues facing our country. There's issues of immigration. There's issues of poverty. There's lots of different issues, right? I like what you said, Daria, that, when you look at all the issues, it really is complicated. And so sometimes it makes sense to reduce things down. I can't look at everything, so I'm going to look at these couple of things and see how they line up with Scripture, and that's going to be my priority. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
In fact, there's a logic to it. Because at the same time, like, we're all such individual different people. God's created us to be so unique that I think it would be hard pressed to find any candidate for any office anywhere in the country or the world that perfectly aligns with all of our thinking on everything.
Right.
And if that's true, if you agree with that presupposition, no matter what you do in the ballot box, you're compromising. You're voting for somebody who disagrees with you on something.
You're choosing the lesser of two evils, right. Or what would be the opposite of that?
The greater good.
Yeah, the greater good of two mediocrities.
Well, what do you think? There's other comments we can go through on this. This is something Christians are going to face this year. What we like to do is we like to try to take American political ideology, place it within the Christian faith, and then create the good guys and the bad guys. And we have asserted that we don't think that's a great plan. Doesn't mean you can't make your decisions that fit with one or the other. But again, I made the point earlier that if you're, earlier this week, that we're supposed to love God with our heart, soul, mind, and strength. Like all of it. Like you got to love Jesus with everything you got. It doesn't leave much for anything else. Whatever I got left, I'm giving to my wife. I'm giving to my kids. I'm giving to my job, my ministry work. And so I think we all made the assertion, or at least I did, where it was like, and compared to all that, compared to my love for Jesus, I just really kind of whatever about politics. Not that concerned about it. And that frustrated some people. I get it, because they're passionate about politics. Maybe you want to talk about it. 440-546-2255.
You know, it's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our health care. This is why so many people are joining Medishare right now. Medishare is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly health care costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. Medishare can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. Medishare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
You don't have to put your life on hold to get your degree from Moody Bible Institute. Moody offers flexible online classes that feature a unique ministry-focused education. Study the Bible and theology anytime, anywhere. You'll benefit from the world-respected faculty and a connection with classmates from around the globe. Invest in your future and get your bachelor's or master's degree from Moody Online. Learn more at moody.edu/online. That's moody.edu/online.
Helping you take the next step in your walk with Jesus. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
721 WCRF. We're convinced that life is better when there's difficult discussions. We grow in our faith through pain and thought and disagreement. So if you want to chat or make a comment, we welcome you. It's a safe place. And if you don't like that comment, it's just we'd love to hear your frustrations or your agreement, whatever it is. 440-546-2255. Again, earlier this week, if you're just tuning in, we talked about a podcast episode I listened to from Apple News, where a pastor's kid who's a journalist was interviewed. And he was talking about how the evangelical church got so political today, so passionate and maybe intertwined with politics. And he gave his theory on that. We talked about it as a team. And here's another comment we'd like to discuss that came in by text. Listener wrote, you are being as extreme as those Christians who are way too political. If this country didn't exist, you wouldn't be the same person you wouldn't be able to freely worship. A lot of things would be different, and so would you. The reason this country is what it is because God decided it should be that way. I'm not agreeing with anybody who's extremist on either side. However, to say that you like America but not that much, that's indifference. And I think somebody said he doesn't like indifference. I think that was me, he means. Like somebody was me, right?
I was taking that he meant Jesus doesn't like indifference. God.
Oh. Yeah, I interpreted it as like that passage in Revelation,
Right.
like
Oh,
you're
good.
neither
I'll
hot nor
spit you in my
cold,
mouth.
I'm about to spit you out. That's
Yeah.
how I interpreted it.
Huh. I mean, I'm trying to process that in terms of like, was Jesus indifferent about Roman politics?
There's no Bible verse that says you can't be indifferent, like assuming that Lauren and I are interpreting it correctly. Like God doesn't want you to be indifferent and lukewarm about him, but there's
Yes, that's what that meant.
The Bible is very explicit that there's certain things that God either didn't care about at all, or he's like, yes, that matters, but nowhere near as much as I do.
Yeah, and Paul talks about it when he's, with the Corinthians? And he's like, or with his, with the Jews in the temple and the meat sacrifice.
Yeah,
You know, he's like,
meat sacrifice to idols.
he's
Yep.
like, whatever. Who cares? Literally, who cares? That's indifference.
Mm-hmm.
The passage that I took this texter to talk about was when, Jesus or God in Revelation is talking about, I'll spit you out of my mouth, you're lukewarm, whatever. That's not talking about being indifferent in life in general. That's not saying you have to take a stance on everything always. So let us not put that teaching on something else. We need to take that teaching for the context that it was put in, and that is, like Daria said, about being lukewarm about who Jesus is.
I think a lot of people forget that Jesus by nature was apolitical.
Yeah.
You had all these Jews, and still do today, that thought that the Messiah was going to come in on a white horse, like massive army behind him, just wipe out any opposition to God's people. And I think there's people that still believe that. Like Jesus was very explicit. I did not come for stuff like that. I don't have an army. I'm not going to bring an army.
Not yet.
Not yet. Right. Thank you. And yeah, just the politics he did not get involved in.
Yeah.
Well, and in fairness to the person texting, I think perhaps some of the phrases we said might have pushed buttons like, I love Jesus so much, it's kind of like I'm not all that interested or care all that much about politics.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a button. Now, I think to be clear, I was making a comparison with the creator of the universe, right? So if you compare those two, I actually would have been more accurate saying I don't care about America at all compared to Jesus. But does that mean I don't care about America? Absolutely not. I love this country. I'd rather be here than anywhere else on the planet. I love that I have the freedom to worship. This person's right. If I lived somewhere else or wasn't in America, my life would be different. I wouldn't be the same person. I enjoy so much freedom here.
But in comparison to Christ, America means nothing.
Exactly. That's how we're supposed to. I mean, I'm working on that. I'm working on my life to be reflective of that. It's going to be a lifelong journey. But that's how the life with Christ is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not that we get to just pick up Jesus and use him for our advantage in winning arguments or, and that's kind of how we use him in politics.
Mm-hmm.
We grab passages out of context and then just slap them in there and go, see, Jesus wants you to have guns. And it's like, what? And again, not a comment on the Second Amendment. No. I've said before, Sarah and I own guns, so I'm not going there. I'm just trying to say, I'm not going to make Jesus agree with me on things by grabbing verses out of context.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can't just say if he said he was indifferent. Jesus said once, don't be indifferent, so he means don't be indifferent about everything always. That's not how the context of the Bible works. And that's not how context works in everything.
Right.
Now, could somebody be really patriotic, more so than the four of us, maybe as much as we are combined times 10, and still be deeply in love with Jesus and love him more than anything else?
Yes.
Absolutely. I totally agree. You think so, Ron?
Yeah.
But the problem is when we begin to melt the two in some way. I think for that person who's super patriotic and super really a lot of their, they got a flag on their truck. They're watching cable news all day. They got America shirts. God bless you. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what you want to do. But when you allow that to suddenly start melting with your Christian faith, then we're going to be in trouble. We're supposed to look at the world through the lens of faith, not through the lens of politics. Are we looking at faith? Like when I first got saved, let me change that. When I first got serious about my faith, it was actually around 9/11. It's when I first started listening to talk radio, because I remember driving home from college. I had a 2.5 hour drive home a couple of days after 9/11, and I didn't want to listen to music. It felt rude.
Mm-hmm.
There was music radio going, but I'm like, what am I going to have fun here when a bunch of Americans just died? So I put on talk radio, which, by the way, primarily very conservative talk radio. And I began to get caught in this trap. And the trap was this: man, Jesus agrees with me on everything. This is incredible. I had political ideology, and suddenly, look at this. Jesus fits right in here. I had people telling me this. And what I'm supposed to do is something totally different. I'm supposed to actually take the scripture and let it transform me. And I should be continually realizing how wrong I am about things. That's how transformation is supposed to work. You don't get saved and suddenly realize, man, I had it right before Jesus. I can't believe how right I still am. Not that you wouldn't be right about some things.
Yeah, but the chances are you're going to have to change more than stay the same.
Yeah. I think that's true. Lauren, you went to Moody. Are we crazy?
I don't think so. We had a listener text in talking about, he had a colleague who would say the Bible said that blacks and whites could not be married. And he just knew it was in the Bible, and he would not tell me where to find it or what book or what verse, but he knew it was true because that's what he was taught. And so they asked, what if our biblical knowledge is flawed, how can we vote biblically?
No, that's true. That's true, right? And in a sense, all of us are a bit flawed in our biblical knowledge because it's a lifelong process to try to understand the God of the universe, and we'll only get a fraction of it. But yeah, if you're just proof texting, if you're searching the internet for a verse that sounds like it agrees with you, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're not doing it right?
Yeah, you're not doing it right. I mean, there's a nicer way to say it, but yeah.
What's the nicer way? I want to be nicer.
There's
there's a better way to do
There's
that.
a better way to do that?
Yeah, read.
Get some helpful biblical study tools?
Well, yeah, and choose a book and read it, and stick with that book and try to really understand it. Let it transform you. And if Jesus or one of the apostles gives a teaching that makes you uncomfortable, sit in it. Don't sail past it for something you like. Get uncomfortable. And let it transform you. Jesus didn't say, like everything I said.
Yeah.
He said, follow me.
And I think, okay, so maybe you didn't have a right biblical understanding. You do some work, and then you start to understand more. Or maybe your thoughts have changed. You don't need to like wallow in guilt that you maybe voted wrong once. That's okay. If you decide to change, or you believe something, the Bible said something, and now you've done some research and you've done some studies, and now you're like, oh, maybe it is saying something different, and you choose to vote differently next time. You don't need to wallow in guilt. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're all changing. We're all growing closer to Jesus.
Yeah.
We should be able to look back to ourselves 90 days ago and see tangible change in our love for Christ and the transformation of our lives. That's what it's supposed to be. I'm working on it. Maybe you will with us. 440-546-2255. 440-546-2255. Call or text to join this discussion. We're seeing more texts and calls come in. We'd love to have you with us. 440-546-2255.
Says even when your financial security dries up and disappears, your real source is as reliable as ever. He'll explain as we spend 2 minutes with Tony.
I love Jeremiah 17, 7 and 8, because he says, God will keep you from worrying in a drought. A drought is when there's no rain, so there's no growth. A drought is when the work stops, when the pink slips are being handed out. He says he will keep you from worrying in a drought. When we built this building, some of you remember this, we got down to $15,000. We didn't have enough to cover the funds to operate for the next month. And we had to believe that because the Father had endorsed what we were doing it, the Father was going to cover it. And see, all you got to do is see God do this a couple of times. Because see, once you see God do something a couple of times, and it dawns on you who you dealing with, your daddy knows where you are, how you got there, and what you need. He knows how to arrange things, rearrange things, flip things, tweak things, trip things. He knows how to do it so that you can see He is God. Tomorrow morning when you get up, sing. Join the birds. In spite of the concern. Don't deny the concern, but you sing because you got a daddy. And your daddy is fully aware of what you're dealing with. But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. The key word is first.
Learn how to find financial peace no matter what your bank balance looks like. Check out Tony's CD series, U-Turn, available online at tonyevans.org. Then join us next time for 2 Minutes with Tony.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838. That's 1-800-659-9838.
Join the conversation by call or text at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
734 WCRF Mornings with Brian. Hey, our YouTube stream has got some technical difficulties today, but Daria, Facebook's still going?
Yeah, Facebook's going. Sorry, I don't April when the tech giants decide they don't want to support our stream at the moment. But the archive will be fully available on YouTube later today.
So
sorry for that.
So you're recording all of it, and it will eventually be on YouTube.
Yep, but if you want to watch live, it's currently on Facebook.
Thanks, Daria. I guess I thought you were the CEO of YouTube.
If I was, I would not work here.
You're the best, Daria. You're so much fun. Okay, before the break, we were chatting about an article/podcast we found about why, trying to figure out why American politics has become so interwoven with Christian faith. And we talked about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, our assertion is essentially right. Like, so Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So the way we understand Jesus and approach him and love him and his teachings would have been the same in the Middle Ages, in the Renaissance, in colonial America, in Native American culture, wherever it would be, it would fit perfectly. But what seems to have happened is there's some people who've like melted Christianity into Christian or into politics so much in America that essentially it's as if Jesus is wearing an I Love America t-shirt. No, he loves all people. He loves the world. He loves the world he created, and he wants people to be saved. Doesn't hate America. He's not indifferent about it. He's in control of it. He's sovereign over it. Whatever phase of American history we're in, whatever's happening, he's in control of it. He made it happen. But we just generally, in an election year, are just trying to give caution that we all ought to fully surrender our hearts and our minds and our lives to Jesus and be continually growing towards him, not trying to squeeze him into a political party. All right, so we'd love to hear your calls and comments, whether you agree or not. We don't need you to agree with us.
Right.
Life's more interesting if you don't. 440-546-2255. We got Christy in Cleveland. Hey, Christy, what's your take on this discussion?
So, yes, I would agree. I didn't call to disagree. Sorry.
That's
Sorry
okay. No, we still want you to call, sister. Yeah. You're fine.
So, first and foremost, I'm a surrendered Christian, and to be like Christ is my goal.
Amen.
Next, I am a patriot, and even though he might not wear the T-shirt that says "I love America," I do. And
I love that. Me too.
But and I do feel as a patriot that people who disagree with me, that is 100% their American right to disagree and to vote as they believe is correct. And third, I am a Republican, and so and I'm very politically aware, and so I will say that initially it was very hard for me to come to the table and hear anything that the left was saying, anything a Democrat was saying, like, that's ridiculous, and then I challenged myself as a Christian. Was there anything that was coming from the left that Jesus would support? Is there anything that we saw in his life that looked like the Democrat agenda, per se, right? And so what was his nature? Who was he? Who did he talk to? Who did he embrace? And so, and what I found was, yes, in fact, the Republicans don't always do Jesus as well. And so it really set me back. And so the reason I called is I would just challenge the other listeners, if you are where I was and you can't see any value to the other side, I would challenge you to see, could Jesus support any of their thinking?
And I appreciate your comments on that. I'd also add, if your political position is opposite, because we're nonpartisan, we're not saying either way. Right. You got to follow the Lord and what he thinks you ought to do with your life. But the same would be true for somebody who disagrees with you politically. They need to search their hearts as well.
Yes.
And I just appreciate your openness about that, because I think that's how we're supposed to operate in life. We can love things. I mean, goodness sakes, I love pizza. I love America. I love lots of things. But I need to make sure, first and foremost, that I understand what Jesus wants for me.
Yes.
And then the rest of my life needs to line up with that. And in the midst of it, not only am I supposed to love my neighbor, Jesus clarified that as you got to love your enemies.
Absolutely.
In fact, he was kind of like, what? I mean, you heard it said you're supposed to love your neighbor. What if you just love people who agree with you? Everybody can do that. Even non-saved people can do that.
Right.
Love your enemy. So if you are harboring bitterness in your heart towards someone who disagrees with you politically, whatever side you're on, you're not following Jesus.
Exactly.
At least not that teaching for how your life is supposed to look.
And that's exactly it. You know, he is on the cross praying for those who murdered him. I mean, talk about your enemy. That is your enemy. And he's praying for them. They have no idea what they've done. And, you know, we are to pray for our leaders. So regardless of what side you are on, that is your leader. And it would not be in the White House if Jesus had not allowed this, if this was not part of his plan. So, you know, I always, you know, I love the song "Sunday's Coming," right? So if you look at the White House and you think it's Friday or Sunday, whatever, Jesus put them there, and our job is to pray for them.
Amen. Absolutely. Well said, Christy. I appreciate you sharing your journey and your thoughts on that, my friend.
Oh, thank you, my friend. And thank you so much for your morning show. I listen to you every morning. I love it.
Oh, we're so glad to have you with us. Thanks so much. 440-546-2255. Any thoughts, team? Any reflections?
That was a brave journey that Christy put herself on.
I appreciate that so much.
Many people would be afraid to look at the opposite party or a third party even and say, is there any validity to what they do? Would Jesus be happy with them? Because you're so ingrained in this world, it's hatred that has been espoused. We are the right party. We're the only right party, and everyone else is Satan incarnate.
And putting politics aside, like I think we just need to let people. We need to understand where people are coming from if we want to reach them with the gospel.
Right. You're not going to yell them into the kingdom.
Right.
By telling them how wrong they are about all things. Yeah. And, you know, to give another perspective, I actually had a private conversation with a pastor about this. And just to be as generic as possible, I had a private conversation in the office of a pastor of a different cultural background than me and living in a different environment than me. It was an urban environment. And I was trying to figure this thing out because for some Christians, their number one priority when it comes to politics is the issue of abortion. And I get that because it's a big deal. Abortion's murder. It's terrible. And I was kind of like, help me understand this, because the cultural group that you're with in this environment doesn't put that at the top of the list. I don't get it. Help me understand. Because I respect you and you love Jesus more than me. You're amazing. I love your preaching. And this person said, listen, it's not that we don't care about it in this church community. We certainly do. But it's like number 5 on the list. We have other pressing issues in our community and in our cultural demographic and in our part of the city that are equally as biblical, that are capturing most of our attention. And I paused and I was like, huh. But the guy was like, listen, we've got a lot of violence in this community. And we care about human lives here. We don't want anyone to lose their life. We've got significant amounts of poverty happening here. And you know, Jesus wants us to care for the poor. So we're spending a lot of our times doing that. We're doing prayer walks around the neighborhood for peace. We're trying to help people in need. I can't argue with that.
When you think about it, if you deal with some of those issues, abortion might take care of itself in some aspect. Because one of the reasons that people choose to have abortions could be finances. And I think there are a lot of other issues that we need to focus on that will directly or indirectly impact abortion. So maybe that doesn't have to be our main issue in some cases.
Well said. Yeah. And, you know, I think what I described is kind of like Christy's journey, where she must have had that kind of moment where she goes, oh, wait. Okay, yeah, there are other things that somebody could care about based on where they live and who they are. Like there are people I know, there's a woman in Chicago, her name is Arloa Sutter, and she is the most passionate person I've ever heard of when it comes to homelessness. She was homeless for a while, and she even tried to see what it's like to be in a homeless shelter, lived in it for a while. She's dedicated all of her energy on earth towards caring for the poor and the homeless. I can't say for sure, but I don't know if she's ever been an activist for abortion. Doesn't mean she doesn't care about it. I don't know what she thinks about it. Never talked to her about it. But is she doing something wrong? If her primary motive in life and maybe even in politics is policy issues related to homelessness.
No, I think both need to be covered.
Right.
God gives us our passions, and he gives people different passions.
Yeah, and he gives us different gifts to support those passions and, you know, make an impact. Everyone has different passions and different gifts for the church.
Yeah, we all can't care about everything.
We all can't care about one thing and only one thing.
Right.
Because then the other stuff won't get done.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even heard the opposite argument where people have gotten mad at me for not caring enough about another issue, whatever the issue is, name it issue C. I'm just like, listen, you do that. I don't have time and energy for that. I am not going to be the guy that digs wells for people that don't have fresh water.
Sure.
But I think it's a very awesome issue.
Dave Safransky does that.
Yeah, he does it. God bless. I'm glad he does because I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm bad? No, I
No,
don't know.
you do other things.
I don't do much, Lauren, but, but I do other things. I do. At 7:45, time for a quick break. We'd love to have you join this discussion. 440-546-2255.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
It is a follow-up Friday. Be careful out there. Lots of snow in the forecast. Winter storm advisory. It's slippery dew out there. And Ron's going to give you the forecast here in a few minutes. So listen into that. Also, what are you laughing at?
I'm in a Facebook group for Cuyahoga Falls. Okay.
Oh.
And someone asked the other day, how are the roads in Cuyahoga Falls? And everyone just like totally like ganged up on her.
Well, about
like,
what?
Oh,
Why?
they're fine. Oh, the roads are doing okay. You like, how are their feelings?
Oh.
And so now they're doing that again today, like as the joke, like, oh, how are the roads out there today?
I love that.
It's just funny.
So Ron's going to tell us how the roads are feeling as well today.
Sure.
How are their
Can
feelings?
you add that?
Yeah. Roads are sentimental today. Longingly looking back at summer days when life was easier.
Looking for a regular scraping today. They're feeling a bit covered.
Salty?
Yeah, so salty. They are really. Oof. Okay. Also, by the way, Walkworthy Men's Conference coming up here on Saturday, March 2nd. We'd love for you to get your tickets. Dr. Mark Jobe will be speaking. He'll be here live in a few minutes as well on the show. Dr. Nick Gadsky from Old North Church and A Better Word radio program. He'll be there. James Ford from Treasured Truth.
Ooh.
I haven't heard him speak in a long time. I think like 2016, so I'm very excited.
Oh, I can't wait. I don't know if I've seen him in person before. Like, met him in person / seen him preach, and he's amazing. Chris Brooks couldn't make it. Don't worry, he's fine. It just was a scheduling conflict. So we got James Ford.
He was so tall they couldn't fit him in the airport.
He is really tall, guys.
James Ford was Alumni of the Year at Moody several years ago.
So all of our speakers are Moody alum.
That's right.
Which is pretty
That's fun.
Yeah. And then we're going to do a Mornings with Brian live to tape there. We'll be doing a show, and you can clap and cheer as much as you like. You can boo if you felt like it.
Oh, wow.
Being back. Boo! Boo!
Hopefully not during our taping of the show.
That'd be funny.
To who?
I'd probably laugh.
Yeah, you
but
would.
Stop, though. Don't do it a lot, because then I'd start to feel bad. Okay. Also, by the way, we're going to be giving away how many tickets today?
We're giving away one ticket.
Giving away one ticket between 8 and 8:30 to the Walkworthy Men's Conference. So be sure to listen in. But for now, I do want to continue on with Follow Up Friday. Remember, you can ask any type of question. Maybe even want to know, like, hey, Lauren, how's it going here in Northeast Ohio now? Or Daria, tell us where your name came from. Don't answer that, because I don't want. It's when I'm asking. If people want to know, they can ask. Somebody texted us with a question kind of about how the show works, and I love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What was the question again, Lauren?
There was some gospel music playing. I don't remember the song. It was several days ago. And they said, what do we think about Brian's choice of loving gospel music?
Okay, so there's a number of ways to answer that. I think the person was like saying they didn't like it. Maybe.
I don't know.
We don't know. It's just like, wow, Brian sure picks a lot of gospel music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, Brian does like gospel music.
Yes.
I do. I admit it.
And you've said that quite frequently.
In fact, I think if you know how people have a heart language?
Mm-hmm.
Like if English is your second language, your heart language is what you pray in, what you dream in, those kind of things, right? I think we have a heart language of worship. Like a particular style of worship that really makes you usher into God's presence. For some people, it's traditional hymns and a big pipe organ. For some people, it's Christian contemporary. For some, it's, I don't know, folk music. Somebody else might be gospel. For me, it's like you got a full gospel choir and just a ripping band, I'm in. It's like, here I am, God. I might actually raise my hands. Maybe. But the other way to answer that question is the level of which I have control over anything is quite overblown. I mean, it might seem that way because I talk a lot.
Anything in your life or anything at this radio station?
All of, yes. Yes. But like, I have absolutely nothing to do with music. I mean, back in the olden days, the DJ would grab the record off the wall and put it on. But by the way, they didn't get to choose either. They had a list they had to play, right, Ron?
Yeah. Yeah, you were given there was a cycle, a clock, they called it, of like we start off with a top hit, and then we're going to do a recurrent, then we'll do an oldie, then we'll go back to another hit. And you had that to follow, and then certain songs within that
you had to pick from. You couldn't just go, ooh, here's my favorite song. It's actually hip hop, and this is a classical station. I'm just going to play it. No, you can't do that.
No, not at all.
And so
only Delilah picks her own songs.
Does she actually get to pick her own? Yes, she does, because dedications.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Delilah. But in this case, here's how ours works. Like, there's a group of people in Chicago that form a committee at Moody Radio, and they listen to music and then pick it, and they distribute it to radio stations. Now, you guys
Moody
correct
radio
me
stations, yes.
if I get this wrong. So, okay. So Moody radio stations, the managers then work with the operations manager, which in our case is Kelly Ryder. She's fantastic. And they determine which of those songs are going to be in our system.
That work for us, for our specific station, yes.
Yeah. And station managers have some ability to, regulate some of that, but, they're told from the corporate what they're supposed to do. And then who picks the music? A computer.
So once Kelly has the list, she puts them in little groups. So like current, a little old, gospel, and then she says, okay, now mix them all about and make sure you have an equal amount.
And then it's got like algorithms that are like, you can't play Chris Tomlin twice in the same hour.
Right.
It's all these things. Yeah. And so does Brian pick the music?
No.
Yeah, you didn't hear my name in there. No one even asks me.
No.
Josh isn't like, hey, Brian, what do you think? He's like, Brian, play this. Here's the list.
Actually, he doesn't even do that. He just says, go sit in there, and this is your one button you're allowed to touch.
Yeah. Like,
Here's your mic button, on, off.
Yeah, I do have a panel of 5 buttons that don't work.
Oh, fun.
If I could move my camera, I'd show people on here, but let me push one here. Here we go. Get ready? You hear that?
Yep.
Still on air, so no music's playing.
Yep.
Oh, can you not hit it so aggressively? Alan's here.
Well, it doesn't work. What am I going to break it?
Yeah.
It's already broken.
It's just not programmed for anything.
But I can turn my mic on and off. Do you hear that? I'm turning my mic on and off.
Yeah.
So what can Brian do on this radio show besides talk? He can turn his mic on and off.
You're hearing him because you can hear him in my mic.
Yeah, we're in the same room. Bam! That's a new one you're getting me with. So if you have other questions like that, we'd love to hear from you. I love talking about how the biz works. You could do that. What?
Showbiz.
Somebody was going to say something. Is that you, Daria?
It wasn't me.
You sure?
Positive.
Okay, then fine. Say something. Go ahead.
I don't feel like it right now.
Okay. See, she has her own control in her life. This one.
She does.
440-546-2255. It's Follow-Up Friday. We're just a couple of minutes away from bringing in Dr. Mark Jobe, president of Moody Bible Institute.
What are you going to ask him?
We're going to talk about Walk Worthy a little bit.
What else?
You two are not initiated. You two, as in you and Daria, Lauren, are not initiated into the kind of relationship I have with Dr. Jobe.
Yes, I am.
Well, you know because you've seen me interact with him.
No, I've been on this show for almost a year now. And
have you? I thought it was like a week or two. What?
Well,
now
there
I'm
was
gonna leave.
life before the maternity leave.
Yeah, sheesh.
I guess that's true. But you don't know all the times that I have been super awkward with Dr. Jobe.
No, that's true.
We can imagine.
Well, you won't have to imagine because we're going to listen together to one of those awkward interchanges before. I don't know why I do this. It's just it's part of my charm.
Yeah, because you want that honorary degree.
I do.
He won't give it. So evasive.
I've asked at least 2 Moody presidents for one, and they won't give it to me, and I'm still upset. And so most people try to be all like, "Oh, hello,
Regal.
Mr. President, sir. Let me ask you very formal questions. We're very professional here." Oh, not me.
Okay, I have one question from
What?
a listener.
What?
Who is the person the studio is named after?
Oh, this is
The
great.
Bob Devine Studio.
Yes.
Yeah, see, we take for granted that people know who that is. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Ron, you've been here longer than me. You take it away.
Bob Devine was maybe not the very first morning man, but he was the morning man here for 40 plus years at WCRF.
From about 1960 to 2000.
Yeah. And he dominated the airwaves in the Christian world. The Akron Beacon Journal once had a contest where they said, hey, write into us and tell us who your favorite morning announcer is. And to their shock and surprise, Bob Devine was their overwhelming response. They were expecting, I don't know, Jaybird Drennan on Whistler or somebody else, but nope, Bob Devine. He had a unique way of just touching people's lives. And not only did he do the morning program, Clock Watcher, he called it, because obviously he kept watch on the time and kept you on time getting to work. But he also did children's programming. He did a number of programs that became syndicated through Moody. And, when I went to Guam, they were playing Bob Divine programs out there.
Well, I didn't know, you never said that. That's great.
Yeah. And he did just so much more. I could wax poetic, but it is after the top of the hour.
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything Ron says. I mean, I remember getting a cake for my first year on the air and feeling kind of silly because Bob was here for 40.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I did it a year. Bob did 40 of those. And he's such a legend that we decided as a station that we would honor him for his legacy here. And I mean, because everyone we meet is like, hey, I've listened since Bob Divine. Not everyone, but the people who have bring it up all the time. So we brought in his wife, Wanda, and a couple of others, and we had a little ceremony here in the studio, and we named it after him in his honor because of just the great ministry work he did here. So that's your answer to that. 440-546-2255. Lauren and Daria in a few moments, and you get to listen in to some awkwardness with our president, and then we'll talk to him. Mark Jobe joins us live in just a few.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
A group trying to garner support for a third-party ticket in 2024 is filing a Justice Department complaint over an alleged conspiracy to block it. It's 8:02. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Leaders of the group No Labels claimed it was a brazen attempt from mostly Democratic-aligned groups to stop its work to build support for a unity candidate for the November election. No Labels is gaining interest from West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin and Republican Senator Mitt Romney of Utah. A Geauga County Target store is reopening today after a fire earlier this month. The store says it has undergone extensive cleaning and has reviewed and replaced all items which were damaged in the fire. And a Pittsburgh synagogue where 11 people were killed in a mass shooting is being demolished and replaced with a memorial. Demolition began Thursday at the Tree of Life Synagogue in the city's Squirrel Hill neighborhood. That's where a gunman opened fire on the congregation back in 2018 in what is considered the deadliest attack on Jews in American history. I'll have sports and weather in just a moment.
No matter your age or season of life, there's always something more to learn and skills to gain. Moody Enrich is Moody Bible Institute's new lifelong learning venue. The focus is on personal enrichment and professional development through video courses and e-courses starting at just $14.99. You'll gain life-changing understanding of Scripture and expand your ministry and professional skills. Explore the courses that may be of help and interest to you. Go to moody.edu/enrich. moody.edu/enrich.
Broadcasting live from the Bob.
In sports, we have Bill O'Brien is being introduced as the Buckeyes' new offensive coordinator, hoping that with all the new teams coming into the Big Ten, Ohio State can still exert some dominance. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. A winter storm warning is in effect until 4 a.m. Saturday. Snow this morning, then snow showers this afternoon. Accumulation of 3 to 5 inches, highs in the mid-20s. And at last check, we did have light snow, 25 degrees in Cleveland, 21 in Akron and Canton, 24 in Lorain, Elyria. And now your More Ron moment. In light of the winter storm warning, let me offer advice to you to help you be better prepared. In your car, be sure to have your gas tank filled up, have some water and snacks with you, have a blanket or two. All of that is in case you do get stuck somewhere. You want to be able to stay as warm as you can. Have a snow brush for cleaning off your windows. At home, be sure to have gas for your snowblower if you use one. Clear out a potty area if you've got shorter dogs. They'll appreciate it. Have plenty of firewood near the house if you burn it. And perhaps most importantly, check in with your neighbors, especially those elderly or disabled. And that's your More On moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 8:06 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine studio, it's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Relatively new employees, Lauren and Daria. You've had the, I mean, how long can I say you're new?
I don't know, but it's been over 10 months, so.
I feel like I can say that till a year.
Okay.
Can't
You
I,
have
Ron?
until Walkworthy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you all aren't read into all the stories of the past, but you have worked with me for a while. How's that been?
Oh, wow.
I knew
Both
Daria
silent.
wasn't going to say anything. I think one of the rare joys for the president of the Institute is to spend time with me. In fact, we have a wonderful example Ron put together that you ladies haven't heard before of an interaction we had on the radio.
Okay.
Would you like to hear it? Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
We're going to play it
I know
anyway.
you're gonna play it anyway.
Go ahead, Ron.
I was just a couple days ago, don't ask, I was on the top of the roof of the Chapman Center.
So naughty. I'm actually excited because now maybe next time I come to Chicago, you and I can hang out on the roof together. Just wait. Wouldn't that be fun?
It's a dangerous place to be. There's no guardrails, let me tell you.
We can hold hands. It's fine.
Okay, you guys are BFFs. Yeah.
What do you think, ladies?
I'm embarrassed for you.
Let's see how Dr. Jobe feels about it, president of Moody Bible Institute. Do you remember that, Dr. Jobe?
I do remember that.
Did you pray for me afterwards? You were worried about me?
We are praying for you. We continue to pray for you, Brian.
Pray for me, honestly.
Yeah, Lauren voluntarily came out here. You have to wonder about her sometimes.
Well, we needed someone to keep track of you, bro.
That's true. It was covert, Lauren. That's what it was.
Yeah.
He sent you.
He sent me.
But you're not here to talk about that. We got Walkworthy coming up. We love when you come out. You're the closer on this thing. Can you talk about your memories of last year's Walkworthy Men's Conference, Dr. Jobe?
Yeah, I sure can. This was the first time that we held it in Canton that I remember, at least. And what a great atmosphere it was. Packed out auditorium. I think we had about 1,000 men that came out. Men from all walks of life, different cultural backgrounds. Some traveled, 2 hours to get there. Some were right from the area. And I tell you what, the hunger that was there, the excitement during worship, the response to the messages. My favorite moment, my highlight, was at the end of the conference. I just kind of felt prompted that I needed to just give a clear call for those that had never made a decision to follow Christ. And I don't remember exactly how many, but there was probably at least 20 to 25 men that came forward, just bowing their knee, some of them weeping, but really serious about saying, I want to make a decision, a clear-cut decision that I've never made to follow Christ. One guy was about 70 years old I talked to, and he said, it's never too late. And another young man was probably, he was probably 16 years old, making a decision to follow Christ. So this is a powerful event. If you're a man listening to me right now, we try to keep it real. We try to keep it raw. We try to keep it this will be something that will speak to men, something that you can bring. You can be there if you've been a believer for decades and decades, but if you have a friend that's seeking spiritually, I think it will speak to them as well.
Now, I don't know if you recall specifically, but I think you also did something last year where you kind of did an open mic moment where you asked men to come forward and kind of confess something they need to put on the altar and get rid of in their lives. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well,
yeah.
So I
people
actually
were
have
very open.
Yeah, I have a follow-up for you. I ran into an event recently. I haven't told the team this yet. I ran into the first guy that came up. There was a man that came up, and he confessed right with you up there up front that he was living with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And you told him he needs to get married. Remember this?
It sounds familiar. I do that quite a bit, by the way.
Well, you're right. I mean, we need that in our lives, someone to hold us accountable to God's expectations. I ran into him about a month ago at an event I was speaking at, and he wanted you to know that he got married.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that fantastic? He came right up to me and said, you remember me? And he told me the story. I said, oh, I totally remember that. He said, I want you to know I got married. I was convicted. We weren't going to do it, but I went home. I said, we're getting married, and we got married.
Wow.
Yeah. Brian, I pastor here in the city of Chicago, and my world in Chicago is many men that men and women, but many men that come that don't really have much of a religious background. And so I'm going to say almost once a month at least, I put my arm around some guy that's come forward with his girlfriend. And I always ask, I say, so who is she? Well, they'll say something like, she's kind of like my wife. I say, okay, kind of like my wife means you're living with her. So let's just be clear about she is or she. Well, no, but we've been together for 7 years. We have 2 kids. And I'm always pretty direct. If they've made the decision to follow Christ, I did it just recently. I look at the guy and say, you know what? You need to take initiative here. If you're both believers, then you need to, and don't make her beg. You should step up to the plate, stop living in fear, and you need to tell this woman in a proper way that you want to marry her. And I have so many stories of men that will come to me afterwards, say, hey, Pastor, by the way, I just want you to know I got married, I proposed. And, I think it speaks to the core, Brian, that there's a lot of men, first of all, men and women, but this is a men's conference, a lot of men that have been raised in broken households. So they don't have a good sense of what it means to have a healthy family. They don't have a good pattern of what it means to lead in a household. Oftentimes they're afraid of the responsibility and the commitment, but they want to. I believe that there's a desire in their heart to step up and be a godly man that takes initiative, that loves their wife, that has the capacity to be able to pray with their children, and lead a household in the right way for those that are married. And but there's a fear there. And so these men's conferences, I think, are great initiators of obedience. They're great places for men to come together and just hear clearly from the Word of God, directed towards them, practical, challenging, with other men around them as well. And so I'm excited about it. There's a great atmosphere there. When I started at this little church in the southwest side of Chicago, there was 18 people, and there was 4 men. I know that because I would pray up and down the pews. I was 21 years old, and I would say, Lord, I have 4 men. You had 12. Could I just have 12? I mean, I'm praying for 12 men. Just give me 12 men, Lord. You had 12. And so I started to realize that there was fewer men in church, that oftentimes men had sort of abdicated their responsibility. They felt uncomfortable oftentimes in a church setting. Years later, a woman was a reporter. She was doing a study on mega churches, and she came to our church. She was not a believer, and she was in the service kind of with her pad and paper taking notes. And the very first thing that she said is, wow, there's a lot of men in this church. She was shocked by the amount of men. And I just thought, my mind raced back to the little church and said, we're deliberately going to challenge men to live godly lives, to raise them up. And so I've had a real burden to see men, including my own boys. I have a 30-year-old and he's about to turn 25, to raise them in a way where they're walking godly, taking responsibility, knowing how to treat a woman the right way, love her right, managing their own lives, living not lives that are out of control, but godly men. And I think we have a crisis right now of men that have a lot of mixed confusions about what it means to be male, first of all, but then what it means to be a godly man and really in this society.
Absolutely. Very good. Final thing for you before we say goodbye and also give away a ticket to the Walkworthy Men's Conference. Again, Saturday, March 2nd, Canton Baptist Temple. This guy, Dr. Mark Jobe, is the closer. Watch out. It's going to be awesome. I'm sure you remember last year, it was the first year we did a live stream into Lorraine Correctional Institution in Grafton, Ohio.
Yes.
A bunch of guys got saved in the prison. There's a growing community of believers in that prison. Many of them listen to the show. and are listening right now. And it's our understanding we're going to be doing the same thing again this year. So I'm excited to report to you we should be live streaming right in the prison again this year.
And Brian, I got a story about that. I received an email or a letter, I can't remember, from a guy in prison that said he was watching, and as the camera scrolled up and down the aisle, he saw his brother there, and he was shocked to see his brother there, and his brother somehow was responding to the message, and he I don't remember all the details of the story, but God really used the fact that he was shocked that his brother was at a men's conference and started weeping in prison at seeing his brother there, and made him just know that it was God that had led him to watch that, led to some reconciliation. It was a powerful story of a guy in prison watching, seeing his brother that he hadn't talked to in a while, but knowing that God was working, and he felt like it was a God moment speaking to his heart.
It sure was. In fact, as I recall, you ended up stopping right next to him, way in the back.
That's right.
You were stressing out the cameraman running down the aisle, and you stopped right there. God clearly ordained that moment. It was pretty awesome.
That's right.
So it's just about time for us to get to this ticket giveaway. Special thanks again to the Dr. Mark Jobe, president of Moody Bible Institute. Thanks for putting up with me and for coming out to the Walk Worthy Men's Conference. Again, Saturday, March 2nd. Canton Baptist Temple, Dr. Jobe's the closer. We also have Dr. James Ford from Treasured Truth, Dr. Nick Gatsky. It's a trifecta of Moody graduates. It's going to be amazing. And if you want to get your ticket, just text WALK right now to 440-546-2255, WALK. Or you can call, and we're going to make you pick the winner, Dr. Jobe. You have to pick a number between 1 and 10.
You want me to do it now?
Right now.
Yeah.
Okay, right now, 7.
What a biblical choice. I knew you were going to pick it.
Didn't Dr. Gatsky pick the same one?
All the pastors are picking 7. All of you. Yes, I get it. It's fine. So caller number 7 right now, and if you're not number 7, it's Dr. Jobe's fault you didn't win. Dr. Jobe, thanks so much for your time. Can't wait to see you in a few weeks.
Hey, great to be with you. Take care.
All right. Call now. Caller number 7 gets a registration to Walk Worthy Men's Conference. 440-546-2255.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m. Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland.
In My Name. It's one of my jams right there. Love that one. But I didn't pick it. I have no control over that. If you don't know, ask somebody. We've been talking about that today. It is Mornings with Brian, follow-up Friday here on WCRF, 440-546-2255. Still time for you to set the topic for the remainder of the show. But we did give away a ticket to the Walkworthy Men's Conference a few moments ago. You should nudge the drummer, and then Daria will make the big announcement. Do we have a winner, Daria? We do?
We do.
Okay, drummer, are you ready?
I'm still nudging him. Hey, you.
He got caught in the snow.
Yeah, he's...
There he is.
Good.
He's enthusiastic, that drummer. Congratulations to Sandy.
Sandy, way to go. A lot of ladies winning the tickets for their husbands. I love that.
We also forgot to mention another winner. Congratulations to Troy for finding this. This is, in fact, a Chick-fil-A cow. And he gets a customized Moody charging station.
And if somebody's tuning in for the first time in a while, they go, Daria, I can't see on the radio. You're like, hello, we're live streaming. She was talking to the live stream because we do give away things on the live stream occasionally. Live streaming today, primarily on Facebook. There was a YouTube technical problem.
Yeah, YouTube is not up. Facebook still is. So if you need that link, just text us. We can get that to you. But the recorded version of the show will be available on YouTube later.
Oh, so you can still look at us today.
You can.
And see how great we look in a snowstorm. We do look great, I must say. Apparently, I'm the only one who thinks so.
Well, the rest of us are humble.
All right. Follow-up Friday. What do you want to talk about? 440-546-2255. Only about half an hour left. Maybe it's a question about behind the scenes of the show, a question about somebody on the team. Maybe it's a question on a topic we've covered or a comment, or maybe you think Ron got it totally wrong, whatever it was.
Probably.
Or you want to challenge a little bit. Say, you said this and it made me uncomfortable. What's going on there? Or have you thought about this? We love that. 440-546-2255. We got more coming up.
He wants us to see that God isn't just reacting to situations as they arise. No, God is actually in control, planning things out and fulfilling his purposes.
Here is Jonathan Griffiths with today's Moment of Truth.
We just need to see how comprehensively and totally God is in control of the situation. To know that God is in total sovereign control of the world's circumstances, achieving his salvation purposes, well, that is a vital truth for us to understand and to believe at the start of a new year. So often it looks as though the circumstances of our world and of our individual lives are chaotic, and they must be damaging for the progress of the gospel. We see the persecution of believers in so many parts of the world, Syria, Iraq, North Korea, we could go on and on and on. Perhaps we have personal relationships and circumstances in our own lives where friends and family seem to have grown hostile to the gospel and they're no longer interested. They won't listen anymore. Perhaps we find that opportunities for sharing our faith at work or at school, they seem to be diminishing and it seems to be getting harder. And we look at these dispiriting and disappointing circumstances, these hard circumstances, and we can imagine that it's just taken God by surprise. This is outside his will. This is something that he has lost control of, perhaps. Nothing takes God by surprise. No circumstance, no opposition, no difficulty, nothing can thwart his purposes to bring salvation to his people through the person of his Son.
This has been today's Moment of Truth with Jonathan Griffiths. To learn more, visit encounterthetruth.org.
If you want your children or grandchildren to know the Bible, realign your family around God's truth. Starting now, the Today in the Word devotional will provide you with a free family Bible study lesson every month. Created by students at the Moody Bible Institute, these learning activities help children better understand God's Word. This month's study of Genesis helps your children understand what happened in the beginning. Download your free family study right now at todayintheword.com.
Making assumptions is rarely a good idea. That's true when it comes to thinking healthcare costs can't be affordable. Christian Healthcare Ministries has been helping believers meet their healthcare needs for over 40 years. It's not insurance, it's a ministry. Visiting chministries.org/Moody eliminates assumptions and shows how this unique model has worked to meet the healthcare needs of hundreds of thousands of Christians. Get more information and have your questions answered at chministries.org/Moody.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
With Brian here on WCRF. That's the familiar voice of Chris Tomlin. We got just a few minutes left here on a Friday. Still time for you and your questions. 440-546-2255. Before we get to a couple of text messages, you have a little, you want to share a little story here about your lovely wife, Dana.
Yes, I need to brag on her a little bit.
Oh, good.
As most of you know, I work overnights, so my sleep is basically 1:30 to 9:30, afternoon, evening. So I got up, got my shower, got my clothes, and packed for the clothes to wear here. And when I come down, she has informed me that she filled up her car with gas and wants me to take it.
Oh.
So that I will have four-wheel drive capability in the snow. And she will take my car, which is just two-wheel drive, because she's going to be staying closer to town.
She loves you, Ron.
I guess so. I got a good woman.
If you're listening, Dana, you're not surprised. You know that Ron loves you very much. Very good. I like that. Okay. Also, what else? Oh, I want to make sure you know that I am not going to be here next week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not on vacation. Don't you get too much vacation? Okay, maybe that's true, but next week I will not be on vacation.
You're on special assignment.
Yes.
That's how they say it in the big networks.
In fact, let me add a little. Let me just add a little spice to this here. I'm definitely on a special assignment. I have been invited, if I so choose to accept, which I did, along with a group of other Moody Radio hosts, to go on a mission trip of sorts that I'm actually not allowed to talk about on the air specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could compromise our particular trip, because the place we're going across the globe, they don't really want people doing ministry work there. As in, the country does not condone that.
Right.
So we're being very careful. It's going to be a long journey. I will spend most of my time next week in an airplane, and that's not me being melodramatic. I will be twice as long in an airplane as I will be actually in the place. But it's a privilege nonetheless, and I can't wait to report back to you what I'm doing. Pray for me. It's going to be a real kind of, how do I say it? It's going to be a dark experience, a lot of darkness where we're going. And we've been encouraged to pray fervently about the trip and prepare ourselves for the spiritual and emotional toll it's going to take. So I would be grateful, whether you like me or not, if you would just, when you think of it, pray for me next week. That the Lord would protect the whole group, keep us healthy, and keep us safe in the midst of that trip. And then I can't wait to report back to you when I get back. So I will do that. All right. And I will not play Mission Impossible when I arrive on my phone. Not that I don't think I will, at least. Okay, a few other items to cover. Somebody texted in asking regarding music selection. If you missed it, we talked about how music is picked.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think either you, Ron, or I pick it. Neither of those things are true.
Nope.
We have a team in Chicago who sends a list of music and actual music to our stations. Our operations manager works with our station manager, make the choice. They program in the computer picks it. And so somebody said, regarding music selection, was there a special procedure for getting to play the Friday song, Are You Ready? Yeah, we're just a few minutes away from playing Jason Champion's Are You Ready? It's our Friday song. We are not, it's not like Hal, the computer, that,
right.
I'm sorry, Ron, I won't play that. It's not like that.
No.
We do actually still control it. And it was as simple as our station manager gave us a special dispensation to play one song at the end of each week.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just tell the computer, play this song at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't tell it, we type it. I think.
When that song first came into our rotation, we all loved it so much. We said, oh, we've got to make this a benchmark of our show. And so we decided, make it our Friday song. We party out through the weekend.
Was that how that? I couldn't remember how that worked.
I
So we
think
just
that was
heard
it.
it, liked it, and said, let's make that the Friday song? Or did it play one day at that spot and we got excited?
I don't know if it did that. That's possible.
And you reached out to Jason Champion
Mm-hmm.
and actually have communicated with him.
Yeah, he does have a Facebook page. And so I messaged him a couple times, finally got a hold of him. And we were trying to line up to interview him during Share, just a quick 5-minute phone call or something, but it just didn't work out for some reason.
Well, one of my dreams is that someday we'll have Jason with us on a Friday and we'll be somewhere and he'll be playing that song live at the end of the show.
That'd be cool.
That's a dream. I have a dream. It's much less important than other famous dreams.
Right.
But nonetheless, I have it. Other things we wanted to chat about. Somebody texted in, messaged something on Facebook about something Dr. Jobe said, president of Moody.
Yeah, so Dr. Jobe was talking about how biblically it's a man's role to lead his household. And someone's like, well, sometimes a man's wife doesn't let him do that.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that is the case. And I'm trying to think of how I would describe that. There are some women who are very strong personalities and men who are very weak personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the times, for Christian men in particular, it's not that he doesn't want to lead, it's that there isn't room for him to do so. Is that a fair statement? Daria, hit me.
No, I think depending on the woman, she might not let him. But at the same time, I'd say, well, are you respectable as a leader? Have you given her reason to trust you in your leadership?
Absolutely. Yeah, and keep in mind, we have to remember that a lot of people are, sort of referring to the book of Ephesians in that, where Paul gives instructions to husbands and wives.
Mm-hmm.
And the only part they read is wives submit to your husbands.
Yeah.
They forgot that right before that it said submit to one another.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's after it talks about women's submission, it says, men, love your wife like Christ loved the church and gave himself up for it. You're supposed to love sacrificially for your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're loving in a sacrificial, not a demonstrative way, not a, dictatorial way, abusive way, if you're truly leading sacrificially, she'll want to follow.
And the definition of leadership for some people, if you get stuck in the rut that you have to make all the decisions and, give all the orders, that's not necessarily leadership.
No, it's not.
You think of the CEO of a company, even a mid-sized company, he does best by surrounding himself with people who can do tasks that he can't do and empower them to do it. And the same in a family. There are things that the man might be able to do that the woman is not as skilled at, and vice versa. And so you pick out what you're best at doing, and you let her do what she's best at, and then you pick up the rest.
And that not only just sounds smart,
yeah,
but it sounds wise, and I think it sounds sacrificial and loving. And sometimes she's got an idea. Maybe it's not a life or death situation, and you go, okay, let's do it. See how it goes. Not, I'm the man, I will decide. That's ridiculous. That's chauvinistic.
Yeah,
that's rude. It's abusive in some respects. And I mean, I've met Dana. She's no slouch.
No.
In fact,
wouldn't let me get away with that.
Well, and I mean, in some sense, she doesn't need you. She'd be fine on her own.
Mm-hmm.
But she chooses to need you.
Yeah.
And you guys work well together.
I think so.
And she's better at some things than you are.
A lot of things.
And it takes humility to own that and allow her to lead in those situations. And that's what Sarah and I have tried to create. Because she's no slouch, man. My wifey, she's in a lot of ways smarter than me and more competent than me. She thinks faster than me. She's a better problem solver, better spatial ability. Doesn't mean I don't have skills, but I'd be a fool to not let her voice be loudest on some of those issues.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's, I think, what we can say about that. I'm curious for you, Daria, because you don't mess around either.
No.
You're a strong woman. You got strong opinions. You're very competent, very bright.
Oh, thank you.
How does that play itself out in your marriage?
I would say I run the house, but that doesn't mean Jimmy's not like the leader of our family, if that makes sense. And there have been things where obviously I have my opinions and they're very, very loud sometimes. But there have been things he's like, listen, as the leader, like we're going to defer to me on this. But with like a lot of the big decisions, like, yes, I defer to him because he's, especially with like budget stuff, he's got a brain for math and he enjoys that. So I just say, honey, you handle it. You can make those decisions. I trust you here.
And I would imagine if you had an opinion, you'd share it and he'd value it.
Oh, I do. And he does, yes.
Yeah, and I would imagine sometimes he might even yield to your position.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, when you got two people, sometimes you need a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so many people that abuse that system. It's kind of gross, and it makes me feel sad. Anyway, 8:48, time for a quick break. We'll come back, and we will get things wrapped up for the day, play our Friday song, and we still have time for any more quick questions if you have them, 440-546-2255.
You know, these days, so refreshing to get some good news about how to pay for health care, especially if you're 65 or older. You know just how brutal costs can be. Well, MediShare now has a new option for you. It's called MediShare 65 Plus. And MediShare is a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills. And it really is a community, too. People encourage and pray for each other. If you've got Medicare Parts A and B, MediShare 65 Plus fills in those gaps where Medicare stops. It's a great way to fight inflation, too, because it starts at only $99 a month for up to 10 years. And it's easy. You can use any Medicare-approved doctor or get 24/7 telehealth access, prescription savings, dental and vision savings. Just very worth looking into. MediShare 65 Plus is taking applications now. And if you call with the promo code SHARE before January 31st, your second month will be free. Call 833-59-SHARE. That's 833-59-SHARE. 833-59-SHARE.
No matter your age or season of life, there's always something more to learn and skills to gain. Moody Enrich is Moody Bible Institute's new lifelong learning venue. The focus is on personal enrichment and professional development through video courses and e-courses starting at just $14.99. You'll gain life-changing understanding of Scripture and expand your ministry and professional skills. Explore the courses that may be of help and interest to you. Go to moody.edu/enrich. moody.edu/enrich.
It's a no negativity zone on Moody Radio Cleveland and Mornings with Brian.
8:49 WCRF. We're T-minus 6 minutes and 24 seconds away from Jason Champion and our Friday song, Are You Ready? So listen in for that. Get your dancing shoes on. And if you're like the first lady of our favorite church that escapes me at the moment, Maple Heights, Hope Alliance Bible Church in Maple Heights. Miss Anita one time was outside dancing her life away, and a whole bus stop full of kids were just watching. She didn't know. She just went along with it. We got a few more minutes here to chat through some final issues from the week before we wrap up another week of programming. One of them was said, I think it's been a little over a year since Janelle was on, which is accurate. Just wondering how she's doing. Has anyone been in touch with her?
Yes, I have.
How's she doing, Ron?
She's doing well. Her second son, Isaiah, is that right? No, Josiah, Isaiah,
Elijah, yeah,
okay.
Jonah.
Okay, Elijah has pursued stand-up comedy, and he's done very well. He's done several shows around Cleveland. He's been invited to be an MC, like the host who works in between the different comics, and recently took a trip to Indianapolis for a competition out there. And he didn't win the overall competition, but he did get invited to come back for some other shows. So that's a win. You know, as a comic, you do a lot of travel, and so making those contacts is a good start. Janelle and a cousin, or perhaps uncle, but I think it's a cousin down in the Dominican Republic, have started a rental property management company down there. And I think it's short-term rentals, maybe not like a hotel, but more like if you were getting an Airbnb, you were going to stay for a week or a month. She's doing that in the DR. So, well, she and Len, because they are a team. And, of course, they have real estate up here in Northeast Ohio that they're property managers of. And her girls are starting to get old enough where they're playing more in the rec league sports and stuff. So I see a lot of pictures of that where she's at basketball games and things like that.
So she's doing great.
Sounds like it.
There you go. Appreciate the question. Here's an interesting one. I love Moody Radio, someone texted. I listen every day and donate monthly. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
It's one thing to pray for us and listen. It's another to take that next step and be a giver. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you're interested yourself, moodyradio.org/Cleveland. Said, however, I would love to hear more voices of color in your very important conversations.
So would we.
Me too. Yeah.
We on and off have guests that can come in and speak to that issue. But it seems sometimes we develop a guest and it's going well, and then they get called to another ministry or, added on to their ministry where they don't have the time in the morning to come in and be with us. If you've got suggestions on anybody, not just people of color, but feel free to suggest people to us. We're always open to meeting new people, and we continue to reach out with the ones we have.
Well, yeah, and we work very hard to ensure that not only are we looking at cultural diversity in our guest list, but also we have both men and women speaking into issues.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we do a pretty good job, to be honest with you. But there is a catch. Like, I have a thing. I have a problem, I guess.
You have one problem.
Well, I have lots, okay? One of my pet peeves is that it seems as if, particularly among white evangelicals, the only time voices of color are brought into discussions is when it's an issue related to their ethnicity.
Yeah, Martin Luther King Day.
And it drives me crazy because pastors of various ethnic backgrounds have a lot to say about all biblical issues.
Yeah.
I want to hear voices of color talking about marriage. I want to hear voices of color talking about church culture, whatever it is, theology. And we do our best to do that because I think it's kind of rude to invite somebody in who is an expert in theology to ask them to be an expert in their cultural identity.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to have Pastor Tanks on today, but we asked him not to come because of the threat of snow.
Yeah, we didn't want to make him struggle on that. But here's what I would say. I mean, we still agree with you. We'd love to have more voices of color, but that's why we have an open phone line. Now, our team may not have somebody of a diverse background other than various kinds of white, but we welcome discussion. So if you're a person of color listening, or maybe we're talking about men stuff, you don't feel like women are fairly represented, even though half the team is, call in anytime. Help us in this. We don't claim to have everything all figured out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So join us in that. But just as a habit and as a personal pet peeve and principle, I'm not, unless the person volunteers to do it, or I gently ask and say, hey, we've got a lot of questions of this particular issue of race. Would you like to talk about that? I'm not going to ask somebody of color, whether it's Asian, Latino, whatever it is. I'm not going to ask them to come in just to talk about their race. I don't like that.
Right.
I mean, I've never been invited somewhere to talk about being white. And I hope I don't. Like, what do I know about it?
It sounds ridiculous when you put it that way.
It does, doesn't it?
And I think, too, like, obviously we value all voices, and I love it when we get voices of color in here, but diversity is not just racial diversity, in my opinion. Like, even though we're all white, I find us to be a very diverse group. You got 4 generations represented. We all grew up in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot represented here in this room.
Well said, Daria. Another reason we have you on the team.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
That'll do it for this week. Again, I'm out next week. Been sent on special assignment with some other morning show hosts from Moody across the globe. I can't tell you where beforehand. It would put our mission at risk. Pray much of me.
Sounds so official.
I know, doesn't it? It's not that official. I just am going to follow somebody else around.
It is cool, though. We can't wait to hear your stories when you get back.
Yeah, it'll be a super long journey, very short time at the destination. When we get back, I'll tell you all about it. But please pray for our safety, spiritual protection. We're going to a dark place in hope of better articulating to you a need that's there. Okay? Meanwhile, you guys won't miss me. You'll have Ron and Daria and Lauren. You guys are going to party next week, huh?
We are. No, we'll miss you.
Celebrate good times. Come on.
I mean, if you cried a little, I wouldn't complain.
We're not going to cry, but we'll be glad to
But
have
if
you
you
back.
did, you could send me the video
But
and
I
I'd
won't.
feel missed.
Yeah,
Well-
unless I'm peeling an onion.
And I mean, whatever it takes, I guess. But Daria, I mean, you never say never. That's what Justin Bieber said. Never say never.
Do I look like a believer?
No, but you look like somebody who could cry. You never know. You're like Brian.
I won't.
We'll see. Tune in next week to find out. We got to run. Here's JD Greer.